Welcome to lesson 3 of the Launch Masterclass. I am really excited to be here. I hope you're excited. If you're excited, scroll down, put it in the comments, tell me how excited you are to be here. So lesson 3, wow, let's see, it's been, I guess, a week since we started this whole thing. We're halfway through, we're right at the halfway point. We've got lesson 3 today, lesson 4 coming up on Monday. So this is the time, this is your time. We're going to get you launched. So just a little bit of housekeeping here. First of all, I've mentioned this before, at my live events, I usually have a lot of people there. 900 people, 1,000 people, 1,200 people, and I'm feeding off all their energy. In this situation, I have to feed off your comments. That's the energy I've got, because I just have a few cameras and we're down a team member. We only got 3 team members over here supporting me. Got a few cameras, a few mics, some lights. And I need you. I need your energy. And I'll see your comments coming in and I'll feed off your energy, because otherwise it gets a little old just sitting here talking to a camera for 2 or 3 hours. So scroll down, leave a comment. Tell me how excited you are to be here. A couple quick announcements here. First of all, turn off all the distractions. In this current environment that we all live and work in, we've got all kinds of distractions. So just turn off your phone. I mean, that's like a really radical idea. I know you might feel a little anxiety about that, but you could actually power off your phone for this lesson, because this is going to be life-changing stuff. If I'm doing my job and you're doing your job, this is life-changing stuff. So turn off your email notifications, close down your email program, close down Facebook, close down, turn off everything. Close the door and just get ready to focus. Because that's the thing that's in the shorter supply these days, is focus. I need you to, I want you to, I wish you can, we all need you to focus here for this session. So right now, this is streaming on our Launch Masterclass page. If you go to our concierge page there, which I've been sending those links like in every single email and keep on putting it up in the Facebook group, then just go to our Launch Masterclass concierge page and you can see this in its entirety and you get the best experience there. We're also streaming this in the Facebook group, the group for the Launch Masterclass. So we're streaming it. So if you're watching it there, we're going to stream it there, but just for a little bit, just for about 15 minutes. And then we're going to cut over to the Launch Masterclass page. And that's because we want you to have the best experience, and your best experience is not in the Facebook group. If you're over in the Launch Masterclass pages, you can download the blueprint. And that's what we got today, is the product launch blueprint. So how awesome is that? Have you guys gone through that? It's pretty cool. So, yeah. And also that'll be the whole comment stream will go over there. My team's over there in the comments, helping out, answering questions. And oh, by the way, how about giving a shout out to my team? I mentioned this earlier today when I did that Facebook Live going into the Launch Club, the Launch Masterclass Facebook group. You know, everyone's in that Facebook group, everyone's in the comments giving me these accolades, saying nice things about me. But the reality is I've got an entire team that is behind the scenes trying to make me look good. So when you see me screwing up, it's me screwing up. But when you see things that are happening that are like where we're doing things right, it's my team. And there's a lot of moving parts to pull off this masterclass. And a lot of moving parts. You wouldn't believe it. And my team has been working like crazy. And they haven't been getting much sleep. And I'm the one getting all the thanks and the accolades. So please, in the comments, give a shout out to my team, because they are absolutely crushing it. So let me just check to make sure I've covered. Oh, something else. We do have another super secret segment today. So if you got to see either of the prior 2 super secret segments, then were they cool? Were they cool or what? So we've got one more coming today. We're not sure exactly when it will be, but we've got a super secret segment coming. Yeah, so that's it. I'll tell you what, while I transition over to the main set, why don't you scroll in the comments and tell me where you're watching, where you're from, to use the old school term, show you how old I am, where you're dialing in from. So where are you watching this? Let me know, and buckle your seatbelts, and let's get going. So how do you take what you love to do, your passion, your profession, even your hobby, and turn it into an online business that makes you a great income, creates a real impact in the world, and gives you freedom, real freedom. Freedom to work when you want, how much you want, and work anywhere you want in the world. A business that creates income for you 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. How do you create a business like that? Or if you've already got an online business, how do you grow that business fast? The goal of this masterclass is to show you the things you need to know to launch a 6-figure or even 7-figure business online. And create a business where you have a great lifestyle, make a positive impact in the world, and let you do it without being hypey or slimy or scammy. And yes, you really can do it in a way so that your mom and your friends will be proud. It might sound like a dream, but I know it's possible because I started with nothing back in 1996. I had no experience, no knowledge, and I built a business that's given me a great income, an amazing lifestyle, and I've helped thousands of clients from around the world. And more important than my success is my students' success. I've helped them launch and grow their businesses in hundreds of different markets and niches with all kinds of products and services and in dozens of countries and languages. Welcome to the Launch Masterclass. And whether you've got an online course, an online business, a product, a service, or a book to launch, this is the place to get your launch fun. Okay, Launch Masterclass Lesson 3. This is the launch. No, it's not your launch. Look at that. I screwed up right from the start. Here, let me fix that one. Nothing like starting out with a mistake. Nice, smooth, great start. The first impressions. So this is the launch blueprint. There we go. Yes. Nailed it right from the start. So first of all, welcome. This is insane. This is absolutely insane. So we now have 42,231 people registered for this masterclass. Absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. We have 6,000, and these numbers are, a half hour old, so they're probably bigger by now. We have 6,301 people that are in the Launch Masterclass Facebook group. Absolutely crazy. I mean, 42,000, we could fill a small stadium. Could you think of all of us like in a small stadium, just the level of energy there, the level of amazingness, the level of awesomeness, the level of launching, the level of like business and oh God, it'd be amazing. That'd be incredible. In lesson 2, the last lesson, we had 1,956 comments. Is that like ridiculous? I mean, that's like a 3-hour broadcast, just under 3 hours, 1,956 comments. We've had people come through our Launch Masterclass pages from 209 countries. 209 countries. Like, I was like, so of course that made me like, when I heard that, when my team told me that, I was like, how many countries are there? And it turns out it's a fairly complicated question. I Googled it, and there's a bunch of different ways of counting countries. I think that the number of Olympic countries is like that are in the Olympics is right around this number. The number of FIFA, I think, has like 215 or something. And then the number of ISO countries, whatever that means, is 249. And we just pulled this number from our Google Analytics. So I think it's 209 out of 249. It's still pretty ridiculous. In fact, we've got people, James from San Jose, Jana from Southern California, Louise from Saskatchewan, Maribeth from Florida, Katie from Portland, Sherry from Colorado, woo-hoo, my home state where we're coming to you from, Colorado, USA, Anne from Panama, Carlos from Mexico, Ronnie from Norway, Ro from France, Christy from Canada, Lacey from California, Yeope from Manchester, UK, let's see, Tessa from New Mexico, Ty from Virginia, Lisa from Montreal, Tanaya from Corona, Sharon from Miami, John from Costa Rica, Iris from Netherlands, Francis from Norway, Ian from Rihanna, Elle from South Africa, Karsten from Germany, Kath from Italy, Rose from Philippines, Jim from, oh wait, no, we're down, we're beyond the country. Okay, so just a little lay of the land. I am going to be watching your comments coming in over here. I've got a little monitor there. I've got this monitor here that just sort of, this has got some notes for me to keep me on track. I've got another monitor over there where I can see what I look like, and we're ready to roll. So this is the launch blueprint. It's not your launch. It is the launch masterclass. We are in lesson 3. We're basically going to, there are going to be 3 segments here. I'm going to teach, I've got some really meaty teaching. We're going to do the product launch blueprint. I actually printed it out. So the PDF is available on this page. It should be, I think, right below the video, so you can download it. It's pretty darn extensive. I think it's like 18 or 19 pages. Let's see. What is it? It's 19 pages long. And there is a lot of material here. This is what I'm going to be going through. Things always look more impressive when you print them out and you bind them, right? So this is what I'm going to be going through. And I am not going to cover all of it. There's no possible way we would be here for like 18 hours if I were to try to cover it all. So I'm just going to pick things where I'm going to go deep on. And the areas I'm going to go deep on are the areas that I can see from your comments. I can see in the Launch Masterclass Facebook group from the conversations there that these things that are really up for you guys, that are real hot topics for you. So those are the things that I'm going to go deeper on in the launch blueprint. So quick review of the first 2 lessons. If we just pop back. Quick review. So lesson number 1 was all about the sideways sales ladder. This is the core strategy that we're here to learn. The core strategy and product launch formula. And I'll talk about that in just a minute, but it was basically, I taught the sideways sales ladder. I taught the PS path, which is the problem solution path. And I also taught the mental triggers. So the sideways sales ladder is that you have a series of pre-launch content that leads into your sales message. So these days, the typical is we often do it via video. It does not have to be via video. Your sideways sales ladder is, you're building value. You're delivering great content that leads into the sale, and you could do it via email. You could do it via blog posts. You could do it via a YouTube channel. You could do it via screen cap videos. You could do it via podcasts. Any number of ways you can deliver it. These days, most people deliver it via video because it's just easier for most of us to just turn on the camera and talk. Even if that feels scary, most of us are better than having a conversation than sitting down and writing something out. That's just reality. We walk around, we walk and talk, we have conversation. And video it might seem scary at first, but after your first few videos will be horrible, but after you do it a little bit, you get used to it. Just go back, if you doubt that, well, there's a little sidebar. If you doubt your ability, you'll be on video, or if you do a video and it's awful, whichever one's first video is, just go find someone with a YouTube channel and go back, scroll, maybe had a YouTube channel for a number of years, I've had mine for a long time, and watch a current video and then go back to one of their first videos. Because you can go on YouTube and look at their old videos, and you'll see just how pathetic they were in the beginning, and that's the way everyone is. So everyone starts off slow. Everyone starts off having some pretty nasty videos. So anyways, PLC 1, PLC 2, PLC 3, this is the opportunity, the transformation, the ownership that leads into the sale. The real thing is you're building value as you deliver these. Now I know I'm just flying through this because lesson 1 was 3 hours long, and I went through this. I went in deep on how to do your sideways sales letter, how to deliver the PS path, which is basically, this is the magic formula for knowing how to deliver real value without giving all the value, so much value that people don't buy from you. Because at the end of it, you have this open cart period, and that's where people can buy from you. This is where they give you money for whatever product, service that you've got. You could be a product, it could be service, it could be online service, it could be a webinar, it could be a mastermind, it could be coaching, it could be anything you want, literally. So there you go. That was lesson 1. Go check it out if you didn't see it. Lesson 2 was the 3 primary types of launches the seed launch, the internal launch, and the joint venture launch. Seed launch, great if you're just starting out, you don't have a product, you don't have a list, you just don't, you're just barely, you're a newbie. You're exactly where I was when I started out. You're exactly where everyone is when they start out. The next one is the internal launch, which is a classic side-by sales letter. The third one is the joint venture launch, which is where you have other people who already have tribes, who already have communities, who already have followings, who have email lists, and they tell people about your launch. And this is where things can really blow up in a big way. And then I covered the circle of awesome, otherwise known as launch stacking. And that's how you go from one launch to another, and they keep on getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So again, I know I flew through this, and I just sort of defined what this is, but this is all lesson 2. Lesson 2, another 3 hours where I went really deep on this. So at the end of the day, you're going to have an entire course on this, but definitely go get caught up on those first 2 lessons if you haven't watched them yet. Now, as we go through here, you're going to see on all of these pages, almost all the pages, I'll either have the word questions or I will have this question mark. And that is simply to remind me to ask you to put in your questions. Because otherwise I'll just forget. I'll get on a roll and I'll forget to ask for questions. And then we'll get to the Q&A part and there won't be any questions. Because we are going to have a Q&A part. And yeah, see, look, I didn't put the question mark here. Let me do that right here. So I want to hear what your questions are so I can answer them in the final segment today. Okay, so are we good? Are we good? Let me just check my notes, make sure I covered everything. Did I talk about the super secret segment? We have a super secret segment here. And so at one point, probably later in the broadcast, might seem like things are over, and then boom, I'll pop back up and I'll have something, a super secret segment for you. It's been pretty cool. So I know. We have had a bit of a controversy. We've had a bit of a controversy here. And the controversy is, and the first lesson, I'm just this is what I call my secret headquarters. This is where I run my business from. It's not my home, it's where I run my business from. And the camera's right there, 3 or 4 steps away are these 2 big doors with big windows, big French doors. And in the middle of lesson 1, a squirrel all of a sudden popped up there. And here I am trying to talk to the camera, and there's actually a squirrel came, and then a chipmunk came. And I talked about it because it totally interrupted my train of thought. And so last time, we actually, for lesson 2, we set up a squirrel cam. And so we can now cut over to the squirrel cam. Do you want to go to the squirrel cam right now? This is what the squirrel cam looks like. So if the squirrel shows up, then we can see the squirrel. But then this big controversy showed up in the comments and social media and stuff like that. Because it was actually a chipmunk that showed up in lesson 2 instead of a squirrel. And it's like, sometimes there's a squirrel, sometimes there's chipmunks. And trust me, I have at least a passing knowledge of small woodland creatures. So, yeah, it's okay. If you're going to be a chipmunk or a squirrel. Yesterday we did a practice session, and I don't know why, but we didn't have a squirrel or a chipmunk. So we'll see. If we get one today, we'll cut over to it. Okay, let's get rolling. So we're here to talk about launches. We're here to talk about the launch blueprint. And first, we're going to start with the big picture. So the big picture is that you need to launch. You can't, if you want to have a successful business, if you look at every successful business, every successful product, every successful brand, they all start with a successful launch. You can't start up slowly and survive. That's what we're here for. I mean, really, if you take a look at the way Apple launches their products, or the way Hollywood releases their movies, or the gaming industry releases their games, they don't just put them out there and hope. Apple goes through a structure where they're teasing the press. They'll let little things slip out about what's coming. There'll be little spy photos will come out. There'll be little slips to the press. They'll have a media event that's scheduled for weeks in advance, and then all of a sudden, boom, the iPhone is out. It's not like It's not like people just randomly, they sort of just release the iPhone and people like line up at the stores. They build up to it with a pre-launch. The movies, Hollywood does this. They do it with by having trailers that they release ahead of the movie. It used to be one trailer, now it's multiple trailers. Then they have the actors going out and they're doing podcasts. They're appearing on TV shows. They're getting people excited so that when it opens up, they get a ton of traffic, and hopefully it's a good movie, then they could get good word of mouth. So what we're here to do is to bring that to our level, for us, for small business, for these little micro businesses, for online businesses. That's what this is all about. And with Product Launch Formula, which has been my life, my work for the last, since 2005, I've been teaching this. I've been doing this. I've had almost 1 million people go through this training with us. This is a Launch Masterclass. It's a big upgrade over what we've done in the past. It used to be called the Launch Workshop. It was called, it's a few different things down the road, but I had almost 1 million people go through this. I've had tens of thousands of people go through my high-end coaching program. I've had my students and clients have done hundreds of millions of dollars in sales. It's absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So that's what we're going to go through. And just a disclaimer here, I guess 2 disclaimers. One disclaimer is that when I say Product Launch Formula, that's this overall methodology that I created. And I've been teaching for a very long time. First started teaching a few private clients in 2003, then started publishing to the world in 2005. So when I say Product Launch Formula, it's this overall methodology. It's that sideways sales letter. It's that circle of awesome. It's those 3 launches I mentioned. It's this overall body of work. The Product Launch Formula coaching program is my high-end pro coaching program. And this, at the end of this masterclass, I will open up registration for that. So I just wanted to differentiate between those two and give you, full caveat, I will be opening up registration for Product Launch Formula. The other thing is, as I go through this, I'm going to go through it really quickly. I'll show you a lot of case studies. One thing I don't want you to think is that this is magic. It's not just magic. It's not get rich quick. It's not like a button you put on your website and money comes flying out of your computer. It's nothing like that. It takes work. You have to put in the work on this to make the formula work. But if you do, it will work. It's not theory. It's proven with hundreds of millions of dollars in sales. And like I said, I've been doing this since 2005. There's no way you have a business teaching something for 13 years unless it works, right? Okay, so we're going to start off in the blueprint with the big picture strategy. And frankly, some of this might even be a little different from what's in the blueprint, because the blueprint we finalized a while back, and this is basically based on what you're asking, what you need to know in the comments and in the Launch Masterclass Facebook group. Okay, so, ready to go? We rolling? We got to get a drink of water. Okay, first of all, the biggest picture strategy is that this is not hope marketing. Hope marketing is where you put something out there and you hope it works. You just hope the thing works. You work and you work and you work and you work and you get your product ready, you get your membership site ready, you get your artwork ready, you finish your book, and then you just release it and you hope that it works. So hope is not a strategy. Hope's a great word if you're shipwrecked at sea. It's not a great word if you're in business. You want to use a sideways sales ladder, and that gives you momentum right from the start, and it gives you sales. The two things, boy, I'm having a rough day right off the bat. That's not how you spell momentum. We're just going to leave that aside. It's like amazing. The first 2 lessons I didn't screw up, and I didn't have any misspelled words. I don't think I didn't screw up like that. But oh well. Here we go. And then the other thing is sequences. So you can't depend on one message, one sales message, put one message out there. You have to create a sequence, and that's what the sideways sales letter is. It's that sequence. It's boom. It's 3 pieces of great pre-launch content, and then the sale. Right? So you want to sequences, and FTW is just for the win. So if the idea is, well, I don't know if you heard that expression, but for the win. It's like you're in a horse race and you've got someone who's like using Hope Marketing. Someone's using Hope Marketing. This other person is using like, they got one, they send out one email, or they put one ad, or they put one post on social. So you got Hope, you got like this one person, this one sequence, or event, or one event sequence, and then you have the sideways sales ladder, just boom, sideways sales ladder, sequences for the win. See, it's this horse race. There are the three of them are running down here. It's not even a race. Sequences are going to win every time. So what PLF is really boils down to is stories and sequences and triggers. Those three things. So sequences, stories, and we'll talk about triggers in just a minute. So stories, sequences, and triggers. So stories are really, really powerful because they pull people in. That's how we've communicated for millennia. That's how we've transferred training and knowledge and tribal wisdom for thousands of years. It's through stories. And when you use stories in your marketing, I think like the broader world is starting to catch on to this because I'm starting to see more books about this. But we've been doing this for, I started my first online business in 1996. 1996, I started my first online business. And I've been using stories since the start. They're really magnetic. They pull you in. And in the sideways sales ladder, it gives you a fantastic place to use those stories. Okay, next up we have the parachute. So that's what we call the product launch parachute, or the launch parachute. And this is this idea that you have, that you can, because this is not a one event marketing system or formula, you have multiple things going on. So if you make a mistake, you have time to correct. This is a very forgiving process. I like to say you can mess up 80 or even 90% of this and still get it right. In this Launch Masterclass, I made several mistakes. Bigger mistakes than like writing the wrong title on the first page. Bigger mistakes than that. In fact, just earlier today, we had our pages, like all the videos on our pages, blow up there for, it was just a short period of time. But all of a sudden, people couldn't see the replays from our first two lessons. They couldn't see all my videos on the concierge page. Back at the beginning of the launch, we had some server issues. And lots of people couldn't, they had a hard time accessing our first lesson. They had a hard time opting in to our website. So we've made and those are just a couple of them. We've made all kinds of mistakes throughout this entire sequence, throughout this entire masterclass. But we're still doing great. We still have 42,000 people watching. We still have thousands of comments coming in. You're all watching this. I see all these comments coming in, all these questions coming in. That's because you have the product launch parachute. Now, I like to say the opposite of that. The opposite would be like the Super Bowl ads. So no matter where you are in the world, you're probably familiar with the Super Bowl for the National Football League here in the States. And there's a lot of commercials during the Super Bowl. And in fact, a lot of people are more interested in watching the commercials than they are watching the football game. And every year, there's just dozens of companies create these ads. And they spend millions of dollars on the ads. They spend millions of dollars on the creation, and they spend millions of dollars on the airing of these often 30-second spots. Sometimes even shorter than 30 seconds, sometimes longer, but these one ad. And they'll put millions in this one ad. And every year, some of those ads work. Some of the ads work really well, and then all of a sudden, they get a lot of recognition. People all of a sudden know about this new brand. But a lot of them just completely fail. They're forgotten immediately. There's all kinds of business and advertising sites where they'll rank the different ads. And some of them are just horrible, and they just go nowhere. Well, that's the opposite of the parachute. That's a one-shot. You're putting millions of dollars into one shot, and you're hoping, we're going back to that word hope, you're hoping it does okay. When you put together this sequence, And we'll talk about this as we go through this. When you put together this type of sequence, then even if you miss the mark in your first piece of pre-launch content, you can recover in your second piece or your third piece. Or even if you get to that open cart period and it's just not selling, you can adjust. You can adjust. You can tweak your sales message. You can tweak your offer as you go forward. So that's the parachute. It's absolutely amazing. In fact, we've heard a few people in their case studies talk about that. So here's another one. This is huge. It's positioning. Okay. So positioning is this idea where you're seen as an expert. You're seen as a leader. You're seen as trustworthy. You're seen as someone that people should pay attention to. That's positioning. If someone were to think about your topic, your category, what would they think of you? Because if you have great positioning, that's the way. Like if anyone thinks of launching, if everyone talks about launching, especially launching online, they think about me because I've got this massive positioning. So here's a question. It's like, how did I get that position? Right? How did I get that position? It's because I did this. Because I did a launch. And because I've been launching and launching and launching since 2005. That's how I got this positioning. If you think about someone like Stu McLaren, he is known for helping people with membership sites, right? Why? Because Stu's done a couple of really good launches. I mean, Stu's a really smart guy, great friend of mine, known him for over a decade. Stu, he's great, he's fantastic. But 2 years ago, no one knew he was the membership guy. Even though he had those skills, no one knew he had them. Then he did a couple launches, and now he's the membership guy. You look at Michael Hyatt, he's the platform guy, right? People love Michael. Michael's amazing, right? But why do you know him as a platform guy? Because he's been using PLF to do launches for, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 years. If you look at any guru, quote unquote guru, if you look at any expert in any industry, in any market, any niche, and just like who's the person there, it's probably because they did a launch. So when you get that positioning, it's incredibly powerful. You know, it's closely related to, or another word in here, echo. We've had in their case studies, if you've been watching the case studies in the first couple lessons, we've had a few people talk about the echo, the product launch echo. And a lot of that echo is about the positioning. You do a launch in your space, in your market, in your niche, whatever it is. It could be meditation, it could be tennis, it could be golf, it could be playing piano, it could be marriage counseling, whatever. If you do a few launches in there, people start to see you as the expert. That's the launch echo. That's the positioning. And all of a sudden you start getting invited to speak. Jeff Noble talked about that in the first lesson. He teaches about fetal alcohol syndrome. And he was just like a regular guy. He was a foster parent with a child with the syndrome. And so he went to school, not official school, but he went and he learned from all the experts. And then he became the layperson expert, the non-expert expert. And he's speaking all around the world. He gets asked to talk on podcasts. That's what the launch echo does for you. That's positioning. I just cannot emphasize how important your positioning is. It's something I think about in everything I do in my business. Is how is this going to position me? How is this going to build my positioning or detract from my positioning? This is something you need to focus on. Okay, so another big piece of the overall strategy. This is like 3 words here. Is connection, and it's authenticity, and it's conversation. Again, these are the big picture strategies. And so, I don't know how I stumbled on this back when I first started in 1996, 1997, 1998, but I realized that the way the world was starting to move, people weren't so interested in big corporations. I mean, we're interested in big corporations if we go to buy a car or if we go to buy a smartphone. But what we're really looking for is a connection. Because in today's society, it's really easy to become disconnected. It's really easy to become lonely. There's a lot of lonely people out there. And if in our business we can provide a connection, then we win. If we can do it in an authentic manner, we win. If we can create a conversation with our clients, our customers, our prospects, we win. That's what makes you memorable. That's what makes you sticky. That's what makes you trustable. That's what makes you likable. I mean, if you look at what I do in my business, I mean, look at, we've got, whatever, was there 6,000 people, more than 6,000 in that Facebook group, all talking to each other, all talking to me, all talking to my team. That's really powerful. You follow, I mean, this wasn't such a thing back when I started in general because we didn't have social media. But now with social media, it's like everyone has got to be a publisher and everyone has to be creating that connection. And there's nothing that can create a connection in a scalable, big way like that Sideways Sales Letter. And so this whole process is tuned, it's designed. It's just, it just automatically creates these things. It creates positioning, and it creates connection, and it creates conversation, and hopefully you're doing it with authenticity. Okay, next big part of, and this is something I'm going to cover in both the strategy and the tactics. So the next one is offer. And so the reason I have this here in the strategy is that your business is all about your offer. Your business is all, you need to be making an offer. You need sales. You're not in business. That's sort of the definition of the game. Unless you have an offer, you don't have a business. It's funny because it's like there's this term now they're influencers. And there's all these influencers out there in social media. Some of them have just huge followings in social media, but they're not making any money. Now, some of them are. Well, I just read an article about this. It was a YouTube conference, and there were all these YouTube influencers up on stage, and they're giving talks. And this article was about a couple of people that were attending the conference, and they attended the conference, and in the evening they went out to dinner. And amazingly enough, when they went out to dinner, one of the person waiting on their table was one of the people that was speaking at the event. So they were a big influencer. They had a lot of followers, but they had to wait tables because they weren't making money. That's not what we're here about. We're here about creating a real business. We're actually making sales. You know, so it's an amazing thing, but that's what we're here for, is making sales. And so the thing with, you need to have the offer, you have to have a great offer. You have to have what I call a crushing offer. A big part of the Proctor from the coaching program is helping you create a crushing offer. And how do you create a crushing offer? Is through connection and conversation and paying attention to what your market really wants. Not what you think they want and not what you think they need. Sometimes you have to give them what they want, sell them what they want, and then sneak in what they need. So a lot of times we're like, oh, people, it's like, you know, it's like how to get more dates for guys. Like, how do you get more dates? The bottom line is like to be a better person. At the end of the day, be a better person, be a more attractive person. Not attractive physically, but more attractive because you're generous, you're grateful, you're kind, you're funny. All of those things that go into the big overall package of becoming more attractive, of becoming just a nicer, better person. But the people in your market, they might think, these guys might think they need pickup lines. So you might have to sell them pickup lines. You might have to sell them strategies and tactics for opening up a conversation. But then you also have to give them what they need, which is how to be a better person. So, offer. I'll come back to offer when we get down to tactics. Okay, so then, one of the big overall strategies is creating raving fans. Creating raving fans. So, at the end of the day, in this business, and in any business, where the business really works is when you may have repeat sales and where you have word of mouth, where people are talking about you in a positive way and telling other people about you. Because when you create word of mouth, it lowers your cost of acquisition. The cost of acquisition is just how much it costs you to get a new client. So when you have word of mouth, it lowers your cost of acquisition. When you've got raving fans, you're going to get word of mouth, and you're going to have people buying from you again and again and again. So this whole process is where you do this up here, this sideways sales letter. Remember, this is not about taking a sales message and splitting it into 3 pieces of, it's not like I talk about this, I talk about the old school sales letter in that first lesson, so go check that out. But there's this old, there used to be a tradition, they're still out there, these long form sales letters, so it could be 50 pages long. And there's a headline, and there's a bunch of copy, and it's literally, it could be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 pages long, and down at the bottom they ask for the order. So the sideways sales letter is not taking that and splitting it into 4 pieces and then delivering that sales letter. What it is, it's about delivering real value. It's about that product solution path that I talked about in the first lesson. And when you deliver real value in your pre-launch, real value, then you will create raving fans whether people buy from you or not. These people are super excited whether they buy from you or not. And so this is what I've built my entire business on. I've been doing this, well, really since my first online business started in 1996. I spent about 8 years teaching people about the stock market. Then I switched over to teaching people about marketing, about online business building. And I've done this all along, and if you look around, I've got all kinds of raving fans. In fact, I've got right there. And is there a way we can show this to them? Okay, let's go ahead and show this to them. This is from Scott McKinney, and this is just from the Facebook group. This is from the Lunch Mastermind Facebook group. Did I say Lunch Mastermind? Lunch Masterclass Facebook group. And it says, and this is Scott, says, yes, I've become fully absorbed in this and will lay out a launch plan next week. It blows my mind that a few weeks ago I did not know I was launching something new. This is powerful stuff. Maybe it's magical squirrel power, and we're only halfway. So if you look through the Facebook group for the masterclass, you can see this over and over. People are like, I can't even stay up at night, or I'm like, I can't sleep. I'm up all night just thinking about this. People are so excited. And those people will stay excited. You will stay excited. Whether you decide to move on with me as a product from the coaching program or not, you're going to stick with me. And here's another one. Let's go to this one. So this is from Alexander. And Alexander says, I just found an old sales letter from you from 2006. The link in it still works and actually redirects to this masterclass concierge page. Very impressive. Thank you for all the great content. Okay, so for all of you wondering about email and whether email still works, Alexander has been getting my emails since 2006, and he's still reading them. It's 12 years later, and he's still reading my emails. That's what having a raving fan is all about. 12 years he's been getting my emails, he's still getting my emails, and now he's actually going back and look, and it blows me away. It just blows me away. Okay, here's another one. This one is really interesting. This one's from Ignacio. And Ignacio, this actually was in one of our ads. So we ran an ad on Facebook. So we've been running an ad, we were running ads on Facebook to drive people into this masterclass. And if you've done any advertising on Facebook, there's an ad on Facebook, and then people can actually leave comments below your ad. And generally, when people leave comments, they're not all that stoked. They're not that happy. People just like get really grumpy that Facebook is showing your ad in their newsfeed. And then you usually leave just really grumpy comments. That's just the reality. If you're going to advertise on Facebook, there's some grumpy people out there. It happens. It happens to everyone. If you look under every ad, it's like that. But this comment from Ignacio, it says, and he's responding to this June Middleton. June said something snarky about me, about my ad. And Ignacio said, Google Jeff Walker, and you see it right away. I built my entire $8.6 million US dollar consulting real estate business in Chile from bankruptcy in less than a year. And I haven't even finished the course, but what do I know, right? So this is the thing. He's not the only one. There are all kinds of people down the ad who are defending me. People are defending me against other people in my ads, in the comments under my ads. So that comes from raving fans. So when you do this right, and you deliver real value, then you get all these things. You get all these things. You get the positioning, you get the connection, you get the conversation, you get your offer right, and you create raving fans. Okay, let's move on. Oh, question mark. So go ahead and enter your questions in the comments, and I'll get into those. In fact, if we got any questions, I wouldn't mind taking a question right now. Grab a drink of water. Oh, and I just got, before we go to questions, I just remembered that, is the Facebook feed still up? Okay, so if you're watching this on Facebook, head on over. There'll be a link in the comments. Head on over to the masterclass pages and check them out. Check them out, or check it out. Click the link. We're cutting off Facebook feed right now. Okay. From Connie is, can the Sideways Sales Letter be published on several platforms at once? For example, email sequences also published on Facebook and Instagram, something like that. So this is what you do, is you have your Sideways Sales Letter. And let's see if I got any space here. You have your Sideways Sales Letter. We're going to do a mini little diagram. Here's your Sideways Sales Letter. Here's 1, 2, 3 into your sales letter. Okay, this is your 3 pieces of pre-launch content. So what you do is you want to have people on your email list. And I'm assuming these are going to be videos, but they could be blog posts, or they could be anything you want. But let's just say they're videos. It's going to make this explanation a lot easier. So what you do is, this is your email list, and you email into each one of these as part of your sequence. Now, if you're going to use Instagram, if you're going to use Facebook, really what you do is you're going to look at this, the smallest diagram ever. You're going to have your opt-in page here, and let's say Insta and Facebook and whatever, you're all driving them into a squeeze page that drives them onto your list, and then you use your list to drive them into your Sideways Sales Letter. So you want to have one place where this lives. I mean, if you look at it, we're doing it right now on our concierge page, right? That's the home for our entire launch. We have our concierge page leads to all the replay pages. We've got lots more goodies coming for you next week. We got some really cool stuff coming for you. But the concierge page is our main page. We're driving people to the concierge page from our email list, from our partners' email lists, from Facebook, from Instagram, and I'm not sure if there's any other places. But we're driving all kinds of ways, but first you drive them into an opt-in page. That puts them on a list. The list keeps on driving them. So you basically have a conversation. This is a good question. You'll have there's a launch conversation that happens via email. And those emails, what they're doing is they're just serving to drive people back here. You're not doing, in these emails, it's not so much about telling the site, giving the Sideways Sales Letter, it's about driving them into the Sideways Sales Letter. Now, I will tell you, you can also do a launch on 100% via email. But basically, your Sideways Sales Letter lives in one place, and all the other traffic streams drive in there. It's almost like a wheel, almost like you have a wheel, and you have this hub. There's a hub, and there's all these spokes, and all those spokes are the different traffic sources and the different platforms, and they're all driving into your Sideways Sales Letter. There you go. Okay, let's take another question. Let's see, from Donna. If I'm writing a book about how to overcome cancer naturally through my own experience, is it better to do a seed launch for the book or an online program? I don't have a list. So Donna, the first thing you have to do is you need to start building a list. If you're writing the book right now, remember, hope marketing is where you get your project finished and then you start thinking about marketing. You start thinking about, at that point, that's hope marketing. That's the definition of hope marketing. Is you put all the work in, and then you get the project finished, and then you start thinking about marketing. That's hope. What you have to do is, this is the perfect time to start building your list. So you start building your list right now, and so that by the time the book's done, you have some form of a list. Then if you do that, another thing is you need to have an online program, I think. If you're going to have a book, if you have a nonfiction book, anyone writing a nonfiction book, if you do just a book, you're going to fail. It's that simple. Unless you're that unicorn, that 1 in a million, the rainbow unicorn that just, every now and then a book catches fire, but it's literally 1 in a million. Literally 1 in a million. And so what you need to do is you need to have a book that drives, that's followed up by an online course or some type of additional training. It could be a seminar. It could be an online course. It could be an online coaching program. It could be one-on-one coaching. Whatever. There has to be something behind the book, so people buy the book and then they get the course. Now, book launches are a little bit different. In fact, in the Priceline Shorter Coaching Program, we have an entire module on book launches. But generally, the way you're going to do that is not with a seed launch. You're going with a book launch. And with a book launch, you're driving people to get the book, and you usually have some bonuses that will come if they buy the book during a certain period of time when you launch. That's how you do a book launch. And oh, we got a chipmunk. He just went through. I don't think you can cut over. You can't catch him on camera right now, but he is out there. Okay, so the scroll cam is on alert, on high alert for the scroll cam. So yeah, book launch, I mean, you just absolutely need it. And one of the things, so okay, I'm going to just jump. Let's see. We're going to do a little bit of flipping around. But I just want to show you guys something. A lot of times people are like, let's see. Yeah, a lot of times people are like, Jeff, I don't like marketing. If I just want to create a great product. If I just create a great product, then it'll sell. If there's that chipmunk, he's dashing back and forth. If I just create a great product, you don't need marketing. If you just create a good enough product, you don't need marketing. And that is the biggest lie out there. Anyone says that to you, well, it's not really a lie because they're ignorant. They just don't know what they're talking about. But this is the way business really works, is that say you have an offer, right? And, let's say even you have a book, right? And a book, let's just call this a book. And the book then leads to a course. Now, the reason I say you need a course or something, coaching or a course or a live event or some kind of services, is that when you sell a book, at the best case, what does a book sell for? I mean, what does a book sell for? A book can sell for anywhere from $10 to $30. So if the book is trade published, in other words, you have a publisher, like one of those New York publishers, for one of these books, typical is you'll get about, typical royalty is about 8%, between 8 and 12%. 8 and 12% of the wholesale price of the book. So the wholesale price of the book will be anywhere, it could be anywhere from $4 to $16. And these numbers are approximate, but you'll get 8 to 12%. So let's just make that like we need some math over there. Who's got a calculator that they can run for me? Let's just say 8% of $4. 8% of $4, so that'd be what? That'd be like not much at all. Or wait, 32 cents. 32 cents. Okay, let's go to the high end. 12% of $16. That's gonna be about $1.92. $1.92. Okay, so you're making between 32 cents and $1.92 per book. Now, conceivably, you might get a better deal somewhere, but probably not, especially for your first book. So let's say, we still need a calculator there. Let's say you sell 10,000 books. Do you know how many people sell 10,000 books? Like, of all the books released in a given year, just a couple percent, 1 or 2 or 3 out of 100 will sell 10,000 copies. But let's just say you're just in that 1% or 2% or 3% that sells 10,000 copies. What's 10,000 times 32 cents? That's 3,200. Yeah, that's 3,200. So that's on the low end. If you just absolutely it's like hitting the lottery to sell 10,000 books. So you 10,000 times 192, $19,200. So this is winning the lottery and selling 10,000 books. You're going to make between 3,200 and 19,200. There's no future there. Because you probably spent a year or two, or if it's your first book, you probably spent 2 or 3 years writing that book. And this is hitting the lottery. The reality is you're probably going to sell 500 books, right? That's the reality. Okay, so I'm sorry, like I'm just being cold water on everyone. Everyone's an author out there, but this is just reality for a nonfiction book. Okay, so now if you have that book, and that book leads into a course that sells for, let's just call it $297, but it could just as easily be $1,997. And now you have some percentage of those, and you might if you had, let's say you had 1,000 people buy your book, and now you have 1,000 people buy your book, and of those people, and there's a lot of different ways this can go, and I can't diagram the whole thing, but let's just say you had 10% of, just to keep the math easy for me, 10% of those people then move on to buy a course. So you had 1,000 people, and 1,000 of those people, you got your 32 cents per book, and so you made $320, right? But then, and frankly, this number is high. You're not going to get 10% from the book to end up buying your course. But let's just be super simple. Let's just say only 10 of those people bought. 10 of 1,000. So that's 1%, I'm pretty sure. And so if you had 10 buy at $297, that would be $2,970. And if you had 10 buy at $19.97, that would be $19,970 right there. So this is having 1,000 people buy the book and only having 10 people move on, and you're making more money than you are up here, or you're making about the same amount of money as you did up there. The reality is you're probably going to land higher than 10. But this is the thing, is once you have this money, well, then you have buyers, and those buyers can always buy something further from you. But then what you can do is you can take this money and you can drive it into ads or marketing or joint ventures. Or social. And you drive it into that, and that sells more books. And more books sells more courses. And you start to build a real business. And this, so I just spent a lot of time talking about books, and you're like, Jeff, I don't care about books. I'm not an author, I'm never going to write a book. But the reality is this is what drives everything in business. Because no matter what your offer is, say this is your offer. And people are like, Jeff, I don't have a list. I don't have a list. I don't have a list. I need a list. I need a list. Well, how do you get a list? You have a squeeze page right here. The squeeze page has a lead magnet that has a place to put in their opt-in box, a place to put in their email address. So this is just an opt-in page. We call it a squeeze page as well. So this is just where people can join your list. You offer some kind of goodie, and they can join your list. Then they go on your list, and then they go into your offer. Right? The way we do it, they go onto your list, and then they go onto a sideways sales ladder, and then they go into your offer. That's the way we do it, right? Okay, so you have this lead magnet. It's like someone lands on your page, and it's like, it could be, yeah, I've got this really cool 10 tips on how to make more saves as a hockey goalie. The 10 most important things you need to do. Enter your email address down below, and I'll send you the PDF, or I'll send you the video, right? You get this. You've seen this many times before, right? So you have this opt-in page. So all you have to do is drive traffic into that opt-in page, right? So you're like, okay, Jeff, how do I drive traffic, right? There's all these types of traffic. And the reality is, there's many different types of traffic. There's joint venture traffic, there is organic traffic, there's traffic from social media, you can post in forums, all kinds of things. I love all those things. There are a lot of things that are great to start out with, but you can also have what we call paid traffic, advertising. And these days, and it's so much easier to do this than it's ever been before. In many markets, I could even say most markets, Facebook is a fantastic advertising platform. So there's no shortage of traffic. If you've got a credit card and you go spend money. Okay, well, Jeff, I don't want to spend money. I want free traffic. I want free leads. Well, that is where people mess up. Because if you have a sideways sales letter and it leads into an offer that converts, then what you can do is you take that money and you put it into traffic. And then that traffic builds your list. So there's no shortage of traffic. There's no shortage of traffic. All there is a shortage of good offers that convert. And the sideways sales letter is how you convert. So this works no matter what your market is, no matter what your niche is, no matter what type of product, no matter what industry, no matter what country. It works. And the example I gave here of a book is just sort of it's just a version of this. So I know I went super long on that question, but you need to understand this. If the thing holding you back is I don't have a list, I don't have a following, what you're really saying is I don't have an offer that converts. That's what we're here about. That's why it's so important when I show you that sideways sales letter. That's what I taught for 3 hours in lesson 1. And why you gotta go watch is that's the conversion mechanism. Lesson 1's the conversion mechanism for you. That's what's going to change your life. When you have an offer that converts, a process that converts that offer, it will change your life because it gives you power. Because you know what? I better go green for this one. When you have money coming into your business, then you can spend that to build your business. It's that simple. And if you're like, Jeff, I don't want to do any of this stuff. I just want to write my book. I just want to publish my blog. I just want to shoot my videos. I just want my message to be out there. I just want to help people. I just want to work with people. I don't want to get caught up in all this stuff. Well, this is what gets your message out there. Sales, dollars, money. That's what gets your offer out there because then you can get exposure. That's the way the game works. I mean, here's, it's sort of, so Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins is actually a friend of mine. I could pick up my phone, I could text them, and I'd hear back from him in a few hours, within a few hours. I've been up to his house. He's interviewed me for one of his products. I've interviewed him. He is amazing. I've been to his events. He's amazing. He's amazing. I bought his CDs off the infomercial back in the mid-90s, and if I hadn't, I wouldn't be here. It gave me the start, and it's been one of the amazing things about my business, and there it goes back to positioning. I have this positioning where I went from nothing and being this, Tony giving this leg up, this start. I've helped Tony. I actually showed him how opt-in pages work. I actually showed him what the whole idea of a squeeze page and opt-in page was. I literally showed him on my computer. I'm like, Tony, let me show you. So Tony Robbins is amazing, and his work is amazing, and he's incredibly transformational for people. But here's a question for you. Here's a question, and put it in the comments. Tell me, why is Tony such a big name? Why is he the #1 guy in personal development? Why have most of the people watching this, not everyone, some of you are like, Tony who? But most of the people watching you right now, they know who Tony Robbins is. Let me ask you, why? Why do you know? If you know Tony, why do you know who Tony is? I'll give you a minute to go ahead and put in that answer. Because my answer, I have an answer that I think is pretty accurate. I have an answer that I think is pretty accurate that I'm guessing not too many of you know. Tony figured out infomercials before anyone else did. Certainly, and he went big on infomercials in the 90s, when no one else that I know of in the personal development world was doing it. So basically, what Tony did was, he had this, I'm going to go blue here, he had an infomercial. Okay, that's the infomercial. And it was hard to avoid his infomercial on TV, at least here in the United States. And so that sold his CDs and cassettes. This is back in the 90s. And that went into his events, but he made a lot of money, and he was able to take that money and spend it here. And drive drive a lot more advertising, which drove more sales, which drove more dollars, and it built, so his message became huge. Remember when I talked about positioning? He got massive positioning because he was on TV every single night. Didn't matter that he was paying for it. Now, none of this takes away anything from the work he's done. If he didn't have good material, it wouldn't work. If you don't have good material here, it doesn't work. If you don't have a good book, it doesn't work. But you're watching this because you've got good material, right? And so Tony figured out that media before anyone else. It was the key to the kingdom that allowed him to become the #1 person in his industry. This is something no one ever talks about. If you're just happen to be watching this and you're like, I don't know how I ended up in this Launch Masterclass, I just gave you gold right there. When you figure out how to drive that traffic, you figure out how to sell, which I'm giving you, the Sideways Sales Letter, you figure out positioning, and you figure out market leadership, and you figure out basically just this very simple math. This is very simple math. Very simple math. I made it look all messy, but very simple math. So I know I started on books, but yeah, there you go. That was a master class in and of itself in the whole idea of direct marketing. Okay, now I gotta figure out where I was. Was that good? Was that good? Come on, give me a shout out if that was of any value whatsoever in the comments. What do you think? Well, I'm covering up for myself, trying to figure out where I left off. Let's see. There we go. I'm back on it. I gotta get a different one after all that. Okay, I gotta get moving here. Okay, so sequences. sequences and triggers for the win. Ask your questions. So I taught you the Sideways Sales Letter in lesson number 1. That's just one of the sequences we use. So I love sequences. You can't ever depend on that Super Bowl commercial. You can't depend on one piece of marketing. So we also have the pre-launch. So this happens before the launch ever happens, before the Sideways Sales Letter ever happens. So we'll leave this aside. But here's your Sideways Sales Letter, right? Here's your Sideways Sales Letter right there. You also have a sequence that goes right here. It's a simple sequence. It's a sequence that's basically designed to get people anticipating this. To get people, remember anticipation was one of those triggers we talked about in lesson 1? So the pre-launch gets people excited about the Sideways Sales Letter. It gets people stoked and jacked up just for your pre-launch. And it does a few things. One, it activates your raving fans. You can see we're going circles within circles. It's all self-referencing. It's all one tiny little bundle. It activates your raving fans to get them to help start spreading the word. And it also gets them to help you design your pre-launch and your offer. You get in that conversation before the pre-launch starts in your pre-pre. I often use surveys. I often use contests. There's a question in the Facebook groups. I often use challenges here. I love the pre-launch. People are watching, there's a lot of spectators out there that think they know how to do a launch because they've seen a few people do a launch. They don't even see the pre-launch. And this could go for a week. This could be a few weeks. This could be a month or two. In the case of a book, it might be 6 months. Hollywood now has trailers that are a year in advance of the movie. That's their pre-launch. So pre-launch, super powerful, very simple. Usually done just via email. Sometimes there's a few videos, but super, super powerful. Then we have the open cart. And this is where you actually start taking sales, right here. So the thing is this is one of the most overlooked things there is, period, is the open cart is actually a sequence. It's that 4 to 7 days where you actually, your launch, your pre-launch lands on the, okay, it's time to buy. So I'm going to go deep on the open cart in lesson number 4 next Monday, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time there. Then there's the post-launch. So it's all fine and nice to drive a whole bunch of sales, but then you have to continue that experience. You have to take care of people after they buy from you. So this is something that we sweat quite a bit in my business. I recommend you do the same. You don't want to be like that movie that gets a whole bunch of people showing up on the opening weekend and then it doesn't fulfill. It's a lousy movie and then they get word of mouth and they just had a big opening weekend and it's done. So you want to, that's the way you get people opening your emails for 12 years is by delivering an experience after the sale. So you have to think about that and it should be a sequence. There's 2 parts to that, your buyers, but also the people that didn't buy from you. Because most of the people that go through your sequence are not going to buy from you. But they're going to love you. They're still going to be raving fans even if they don't buy from you. I know there are people watching this, a lot of people watching this, that are not going to buy. But I want them to still love me. You love me right now because I'm giving you all this value, right? I want you to continue to love me. So it's really easy to go through this sequence and then especially then start to focus on your buyers and then just forget that you have all these new leads that you got in your launch, all these new people following you. You want to take care of them. And then I have a little asterisk because this isn't for all launches, but if you're doing a JV launch, the sequence, this is a key one. This is super, super key right here. If you're doing a joint venture launch, there is, boy, this is getting a little messy here. Let's go Sideways Sales Letter right up here. We're just going to draw that in. Sideways Sales Letter leading into the sales video. Okay, so PLC 1, 2, 3. Then you're going to have your pre-pre is right here. We'll call that the pre-pre. Then, if you have a joint venture launch, you have this really long sequence here that's just all about getting your partners excited to promote. Because it's one thing for them to say they're going to support you, they're going to promote for you, they're going to send an email to their list. It's another thing for them to just be incredibly excited. And that's what the JV sequence does. We actually start, for our joint venture launches, we start our JV sequence literally a year in advance. 1 year in advance, we start telling partners about our launch and why they should be excited about it. Now, we're not calling them over the head. It's not like we're sending them an email a day for 365 days, but we do start it a full year in advance. Okay, so let's get over to the offer. So this is your offer, and getting your offer right is every bit as critical as your sideways sales letter. Because you can get people really, really excited, but at the end of the day, if you just really make an offer that they don't care about, that they don't want, it doesn't matter. They might love you, but they're not going to buy from you. So this offer is like what you're actually going to sell. And when I say offer, it could be a service, it could be a widget, it could be an online course, it could be a membership site, it could be a mastermind, it could be a live event. It doesn't matter, but the idea of the offer is just, it's like this exchange, what you're going to give people when you ask for their money. So the offer is absolutely critical, and it's something to worry about. It's one of the most important things to worry about. Worry about it as much as you worry about the sideways sales letter. So this is the key to the offer. It's about the transformation. It's not about the stuff. So at the end of this Launch Masterclass, I'm going to make an offer for the Product Launch Formula Coaching Program. And I hope you consider it. And I know a lot of people are going to consider it, a lot of people are going to join. It's because I'm following my sideways sales letter. And when I make that offer, at the end of the day, what am I offering? I'm offering to go deep and I've created this coaching program where you're going to be able to go through it. You're going to get all this training that just goes way beyond what we're doing here. You're going to get coaching calls. You're going to be able to talk to my coaches. You might get the chance to talk to me. You get all kinds of bonuses that help you in many, many different ways. You get this portal, this community. You get an alumni Facebook group. You get my PLF Live event. It's a full package, right? But at the end of the day, it doesn't really, all those little things you get isn't really what people are interested in if they're looking at buying it, if they're looking at registering. What they want is they want to have a successful launch. That's the transformation. So I could do it as y'all come to my secret headquarters, we sit around the table and map out your launch. I could do it as we're going to all go down to Mexico and sit on the beach and we're just going to talk about it and figure it out. It could be we're going to do a bunch of webinars. It could be I'm going to send you books and CDs and DVDs. It could be any number of different formats. But what really is important is that you get launched. And really what's beyond that is the next level of transformation is what it does for your life. If all of a sudden you have more income, you have more freedom, you can live where you want, you can work with who you want, your time is leveraged, you get to make a huge impact in the world, you have a better lifestyle, you get to help people. That's a transformation. So when you're actually selling, when you're in your offer, when you're in the open cart, which I'm going to talk about in lesson 4, when you're actually making that sale, you have to focus on the transformation. You're focusing on how their life changes. So like if let's go to a different one. Let's say it's like golfing. Boy, you're going to teach people how to drive their ball on their first shot an extra 30 yards. Right? So at the end of the day, it's like, okay, that's cool. I'm going to teach. So how are you going to? Is it going to be what's your offer? Is your offer that they're going to get a bunch of videos, or they're going to get a special golf club, or they're going to get some meditations, or are they going to get a little band that goes on their head or something that goes on their wrist? Those things are all part of the story, and they're all important in one way. But what's really important is they hit the ball 30 yards further. And what's more important than hitting the ball 30 yards further is that they lower their golf score so that they can beat their friends. So then, like at the end, when they're walking in the bar, they're the person who hit the ball 30 yards further, who scored 3 strokes lower, and who won out of their foursome. Or they're the person who stepped on that first tee, and that guy watching him hit the first shot on the first tee isn't like, they're worried about that, what they look like in front of that person, and that the person like sees them hit that ball, that extra 30 yards, and put it right in the middle of the fairway. That's the transformation. So, this is all actually all through your sideways sales letter and in your open cart period. You have to focus on the transformation, not the stuff. If you're going to fly from New York to London, okay, at the end of the day, what do you want? You want to land in London, hopefully feeling somewhat refreshed, hopefully on time, and definitely safely. So when you go to buy a ticket from the airline, you're generally not buying it based on the type of airplane. I mean, personally, I fly a lot. Sometimes I will look at the airplane, but it's mostly because I know what the seats are like in the airplane, because I care about the seats, because I care how comfortable I'm going to be. But at the end of the day, that's the transformation is I land in London refreshed, on time, and I actually land there in one piece. It's not so much about the airplane, about what model it is, or what color it is, or even what airline it is. It's about that experience of the travel and landing there one piece, on time, and feeling like you had a good experience. It's not about the stuff, it's about the transformation. So it's really easy to forget this because we spend a lot of time creating our stuff. A lot of time. I mean, I can't tell you the amount of time I spent, Product Launch Formula, new coaching program. I've reshot, in the last couple of months, we reshot the whole course. Hours and hours and hours of me standing in the studio going through the new stuff. We've created new bonuses. My team has killed themselves creating a new portal. So we're obsessed with this stuff. We're crazy obsessed with this stuff because I've been working on this stuff for months. But at the end of the day, you want the transformation. That's what's important to you, is the transformation, that you do the launch. And the launch gives you the results of lifestyle, of income, of impact. Okay, enough on that. So, launch. So, I talked about this briefly already. Conversation. I'm going to run out of room. So during your launch, you are getting all kinds of comments coming in. You're getting all kinds of feedback. Maybe there's people talking on social. And that conversation will tune your offer. I like to say no offer is final until the cart closes. Until the cart closes. So in other words, that means, and we'll get into this in lesson number 4 when we talk about that open cart, but real briefly, we have this, here's your sideways seller, the first 3 pieces. And the way I drew it up here is there's just a sales video, but really there's that sequence. This sequence right here. And in that sequence, you make your offer here, but then you close your offer here, right? But even in this time frame, you can be adding things to the offer. Like I'll tell you what, I'm going to tweak this offer for Product Launch Formula Coaching Program just based on what I've learned from you. I'll talk about that a little bit later. But I got something I'm adding to the offer. Okay, so this is the important stuff about the offer. The transformation is about tweaking it in the launch conversation. But at the end of the day, you do have to deliver something, the stuff. And so just to list off, there are 5 components here. The first one is what we call deliverables. So this is the actual stuff they get. CDs, DVDs, books, a course, online course, offline course, webinar, mastermind, live event, whatever. It's the actual stuff. Then there are bonuses, because people love to get bonuses. And bonus is the easiest way to, if you're in your launch conversation, you're like, oh boy, we completely forgot about this. We completely missed that when we're teaching parents how to be good soccer coaches to their kids, we totally forgot about the thing about, I don't know, fitting the soccer shoes or something like that. I don't know what it is. But you're like, oh, we completely forgot about that one piece. And so You just added a bonus. That's easier if you have an online product than a physical product. But you can still add stuff even if it's a physical product. I've seen it done many, many times. Next one is price. These are all components of the offer. What's it going to cost? Is there going to be a payment plan? Next is the word I always misspell, guaranteed. Now it's G-U, I'm going to spell it that way. I'm going to call it that. That's right. What the guarantee is, I'm a big fan of offering a guarantee. I've always offered guarantees. It's also called risk reversal. How you take the risk on of the transaction. So if I offer you a guarantee, and I always do, if I offer you a guarantee, then I'm taking the risk. If you're putting money out, I'm giving you something, but if it doesn't work out, you get the money back. That's a risk reversal. And then finally, we have launch bonuses. And sometimes we add in special bonuses just during the launch. Really simple. You get bonuses, but that could be a normal part of your offer, but then during this launch, you get these extra bonuses that are extra amazing. Okay, let me look at the time. I have to start. Oh my gosh. We're going to crank through this. We're going to rock it. So, the 10 types of launches. Seed Internal JV, go watch lesson 2. If you haven't watched lesson 2, I went deep on these in lesson 2. So, we do have a number, and remember, questions. That's my reminder to remind you. Type in your questions. We're going to get to Q&A in a little bit. Whew. 10 types of launches. Let me check my notes. Okay, so you've heard in our case studies, I think it was Jeff Noble talked about the quick launch. Quick launch is generally an email-based launch. You might throw a video in these days. It could be a simple iPhone or smartphone video. This is great if you already have a product and you have a list and you just want to bring in some money, it's a quick cash flow. It's generally story-based, super easy, super simple. You can literally put one of these together. The first time I did one of these, it was less than 24 hours to put it together. And then within about 72 hours, it was done. That simple. So that's what a quick launch is. And it's, like I said, it's about bringing in cash flow quickly if you have a list and if you have a product. Next one is we call the shadow launch. This is where, actually, I answered a question in lesson 2 it was about the shadow launch. If you don't have a product, and you don't even want a product, then you can do a launch just as an affiliate for an affiliate product, an affiliate offer. This has been done and it works really, really well. It's relatively simple. Basically what you do is you're putting together an additional bonus, but then you put a bonus. So if someone buys product X through your affiliate link, then they're going to get this bonus that you've put together. You'll get a commission for selling it. You look at this bonus, you run a little sequence, talks about that bonus. There's a limited period of time people get the bonus, and boom, you've done a launch. I've seen people do this and become like #1 affiliate for a product, literally within days. Within days by doing a shadow launch. Okay, relaunch. So you do your side-by sales letter. You put together a great launch. Maybe it's an internal launch. You can go back and 4 months later, 6 months later, a year later, and do the same launch and use the same sideways sales letter. So the #1 thing about the relaunch is it's almost no extra work, but you get the benefits of the launch. So typically what you do is, like let's say you have 1,000 people on your list. And then over the span of the next 6 months, you add another 500 people on your list. Well, you can, and say you did a launch up here for these 1,000 people. And with that launch, I don't know, maybe you made $10,000 just to make completely making these numbers up. So you did $10,000, now you've got these new 500 people, they've never seen your launch. So you basically run these folks through another launch using the same material, reusing your launch. Almost zero extra work, and boom, you do nice, who knows, maybe you make $5,000 if the math holds. So relaunches are really cool because there's no work. So love it. So e-commerce launch. not going to spend a lot of time on that. Most of my students, most of my clients do have, they're selling training products of one sort or another, either offline, online, so some type of training product, but this also works really well for e-commerce. We had a question on this. I can't remember which lesson it was in. We had a question on, but people sell all kinds of physical goods, including, I remember one of my favorite ones. We did a case study long ago, like in 2007. Someone did a launch for marching band accessories. Like I'm talking about the gloves and the silly hats and maybe the batons and whatever, marching band accessories, and they just crushed it with their launch. So you can absolutely do e-commerce. Then we've got Evergreen. One of our case studies that we're going to have today, she talks about Evergreen. This is the idea, it's an ongoing launch. If someone joins your list within a few days or a few weeks, they're going to get their own private launch. So this is super advanced. This is advanced stuff here. It's not going to be your first launch. Typically, you'll do your internal launch, and then you'll take that and you'll migrate it into an Evergreen launch. It's only something we've been, we've only seen our clients doing this in the last, 5 or 6 years. So it's relatively new. I've been doing this forever, right? So 5 or 6 years is new to me. But Evergreen is great, fantastic. It evens out your cash flow. So instead of your cash flow being you do a launch, you make all this money, and then you wait and you do another launch, what it does is it evens out those sales. It is an advanced topic. We have an entire module in the Programs from the coaching program on Evergreen. Then we've got Sparta. And this is a very high-end launch. It's another simple one, super simple. So it's like all email. So it's interesting because we have this one is email, and this one is generally email. And you could mix in video if you wanted. E-commerce is often very heavily email. Sparta is almost entirely email. Again, you could throw a video in, if you wanted to, but email is really easy. So Sparta, usually high-end. Our students have typically done that anywhere from like a $3,000 sale up to a $25,000 sale. And it's literally effortless once you get the positioning. Actually, I can't say it's effortless, but it's not much effort. It's all about the positioning. And you get your positioning through doing launches. I should have asked that question. Here, I'll answer that question in the comments. How do you get positioning? Through launches. Type it in, launches. Launches give you positioning. Launches give you positioning. When you have positioning, then you can put an offer out there that says, hey, come and hang out with me here in Durango for a couple of days. We're going to sit around in my headquarters. We might go skiing, and there's only going to be like 6 of us hanging out. It's going to be amazing, and it's only $25,000. And if you got the positioning, you can sell something like that out. Now, it's not everyone's going to get $25,000, but Will Hamilton, I mentioned him in lesson 1. Will is been a PLF owner forever, and he teaches about tennis. So he did a Sparta offer and had people pay him to come in for a couple of days, hang out with him. And he's got great positioning in the tennis niche, in teaching tennis. Hang out with him. They went to a tennis tournament with him, got to meet some pros. I think they hit some balls around, maybe they had a lesson or two. And he got $10,000 for that. This is a niche where most people are getting $27 or $47 for their products, for their how to play tennis products. Will got $10,000 and it sold out like that with the Sparta offer. So Sparta is super cool. Then finally we have the live launch. So this is the latest innovation. Notice I am doing this live. Not everyone's going to do it live. Not everyone needs to do it live. Not everyone should do it live. But for some people, it will actually be easier to do a live broadcast and a live launch than it will be to do something like, to put together a bunch of fancy videos or anything like that. So live is super powerful. Or you can just add in a live component to your launch. And you're going to be hearing about that in one of our case studies as well. Again, you don't have to do it live because I know it's intimidating for some people. Boom. So basically, if you look at it, it's all PLF for the win. These are all just variations on the strategy of the sideways sales letter and delivering a lot of value and using that value and that sideways sales letter to create a great offer, to create a conversation with your market, to create a sequence, and then make the sale. So there you go, 10 types of launches. And I am actually running out of water here. If we could. Stuff that happens when you are live. Okay, so where are we at on time? Holy cow, we're doing great. We are doing great. So, these are the gotchas. And so, the first one that I hear about the most, and I've been hearing about for a long time, is I don't have a list. And if you, I sort of already went through the one that had all the math on it, and I hope I didn't lose anyone with the math. But the reality is, getting a list is about creating an opt-in page. And the opt-in page is some kind of lead magnet and a box for people to enter their email address and a button to subscribe. And then you're driving people in various ways. So all it is about creating that lead magnet. Now these kind of pages, they used to be difficult to create, but the team's creeping around trying to get me the water. I'm watching. This is, we're all watching. We're all going to see this hand magically come in. I'm watching the water. Oh. How about my team? How about, give it up for Kristen in the background. That was amazing. Give it up for Kristen in the comments. I'm doing a lot of talking here. No one starts out with a list. No one starts out with a list. I did not start out with a list. I had zero people on my list. When I started this business, teaching online marketing in 2005. When I started my business, I had a big head start when I started my business in 1996 about the stock market, because I talked about this in the first lesson. I had 17 email addresses, people I knew that I thought knew me that might be interested in the stock market. So I sent an email to 17 of them. And then I gradually built it from there, one email address at a time. You know, it took, I sent that first email out, went out to 17 people. But I think just through word of mouth, it leaped, my subscriber list leaped from 17 up to, I think, probably about 19 on the second time I sent out an email, second time I sent out a newsletter. Good old newsletter, easing we used to call it. And then sent it out to 19 people. And I was sending it once a month, which is the wrong thing to do, but I didn't know what I was doing in 1986. Then I started going to twice a month. And I think I got it, the next one up to like 23 people. And it started to grow by word of mouth. And then I figured out how to put together one of these pages. It was really ugly, and I really didn't have an offer. It was just subscribe to my newsletter. And then it leaped up to like 30 people. And I was tracking this on a spreadsheet. And every 3 or 4 days, I would get another person subscribing. And it was pretty amazing. And then it kept on going, and it finally got to the point where I was getting one new subscriber a day. And it was like, this is incredible. And I kept on working at this. Kept on trying to drive traffic in here. Kept on creating free content. And then I got to like 3 people a day. And then 5 people a day. And then 15 people a day were subscribing. And then I eventually got to 30 people a day. Really didn't get much beyond 30 people a day. Every now and then I get like someone talking about it, someone sent out an email about it, I get a big bump. But 8 years later, that email list was something like 80,000 people. Just by getting, 900,000 people a month. 12,000 people a year. 8 years later, 80,000 people. That's the way everyone does it. Or then, when I say it, it's just gradually people do it. Unless you do a launch, and then you might double your list overnight. but no one starts with a list. There's a question in that first lesson. Someone wrote in and said, Jeff, I only have 1,500 people on my list. How can I, or maybe it was a Facebook group or something like that. He had an audience of 1,500. And I was like, he's like complaining. It's like, I don't have any positioning. I don't have, just I got this tiny little list. What do I do? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I would have just killed for 1,500 people. I just would have done anything for 1,500 people when I started. So the way it is like people, either they don't have a list, or there's just two kinds of people in the world. The people that don't have a list and the people that wish they had a bigger list. Because if you don't have a list, you just gotta get started. That's the whole thing. You start out. And then but even after you get your first 1,000, you're like, I just have this tiny list. And then even after you get to 5,000, I just have this tiny list. And even after you get to 30,000, I just have 30,000 people on my list. And then you get to 100,000, and you're just like, I've just got 100,000. I know there's people out there with millions. I don't have much of a list. I mean, I still feel like I don't have much of a list, right? So this is your future. If you want to change your life, if you want to create the lifestyle, the income, and have the impact you want, then you're in the business of building a list. It just matters where you're at. Or it doesn't matter where you're at. You're always going to be doing this. If you want a business, if you want the income, if you want the impact, you're always building a list. Always. Never stop. I'll never stop. Right? I'll never stop. So the only question is like, are you here with a 0? Or are you here with 100,000? Or are you somewhere in between? Or are you here with 1 million? Everyone's working on building a list. So if you just don't have a list, get started. Get started. Okay, no product? Sort of the same answer. No one starts with a product. The seed launch is the best way to get a product. Absolutely best way to get a product. If you don't have a product, you don't have an offer, you're not in business. So just get one. The reality is, we all have the technology to create a product. We all have a smartphone. And I've seen great products created just using a smartphone, either the audio recorder or the camera. Or you can just create a product via Facebook Lives. You can create a product via YouTube Lives. You've probably got a computer, and you've got some version of a word processor on there. You can create a product. Use the seed launch. The key is the seed launch, you get paid before you create the product. So seed launch I covered in lesson 2. Okay, so the next one, and this is one that's up quite a bit, I see in the Facebook group, in the Masterclass Facebook group. And this is technology. I'm not technical. And I get, this is an important one. I totally get this. And so the deal is that the technology, when I started out in 1996, and I did my first launch, it's right at the end of 96, early 97, I did my first launch, and it was like, I didn't have a website, I didn't know how to take payments. Taking credit card payments back then was like rocket science. There weren't any shopping carts available. And so I took checks. I sent out an email that said, if you want to subscribe to this newsletter, this paid newsletter, then print out this form and send me a check. And I think 6 people. That first launch did $1,650. So a couple of things. First of all, I'm not technical. Second, the tools have always and keep on getting better and better and better. You can literally create a website in a day right now. There's amazing tools out there. We have guidance on this. Even in here, we list out some of the tools in the blueprint. Because this is such a thing right now, we've always had guidance on this in Private Launch Formula, but we are creating, for the coaching program, a complete new bonus that is just pure guidance on your tech stack, on how to put the tech together. It's going to be very, very cool. We're actually creating it. We're not creating it now. After we wrap up this master class and we start our coaching program, then my team and I are going to create that for you. But the reality is there's great tools. You can literally have a site up within a day. And all those tools, they have fantastic tutorials, every single one of them. And if you have the will, you're going to do it like I did. You're going to find a way. My way was, I'll take checks. Now, I don't recommend you take checks because it's so much easier. I mean, it's just so much easier. You have something like SamCart, you've got Stripe, you've got PayPal, you've got things that make it so much easier. And those tools keep on getting easier. Now, I'm not dismissing that this is a challenge. It is a challenge, but it's a solvable challenge. It's figure-outable. That's a technical term. It's figure-outable, and like I said, the tools keep on getting better. They're better than they were a year ago. They're a huge amount better than they were 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And if you join me in Product Launch for the Coach program, we have got your back there. So, I am not a guru. I'm not a guru. That's a lot of people are like, Jeff, it's awesome for you. You can stand in front of a camera, you can talk. I'm an introvert. Like if you go to a cocktail party and I happen to be there, first of all, cocktail party or any kind of party is not my natural environment. I'm not really good. I'm going to be the person sitting in the corner over there. I'm going to be the last person you notice. You walk in a room, there's 50 people. I'll be the last person you notice. I'm an introvert. I didn't start off as a guru. The reason you're watching me is because I've done launches. I've got the positioning. I mean, it's like I'm just like a regular person. And the people I'm bringing to you in the case studies are just regular people. They're just regular people. And I mean, it's like, I'm just standing here talking into a camera. You don't need to be a guru. This is how you get to be a guru. John Gallagher, he's one of my greatest success stories in Product Launch Formula. He was on food stamps, now he's built a multi-million-dollar business. On food stamps, when he joined the coaching program, he now has a multi-million-dollar business, but he's like, and he teaches about medicinal plants and herbs, but he's not the expert. He brings the experts in and he gives them a platform. So he's the person that's interviewing the experts or that's presenting the experts, and they're the ones that are doing the teaching. It's an incredible business model. He's brought a lot of many great experts who were fantastic experts, but they didn't really have a platform. Well, he built the platform. He built the platform, and now he gives them the platform, and it's just been absolutely amazing for him. So you don't need to be a guru, but this is how you become known as an expert. This is how you become known as a leader. That's the positioning. Remember that when I talked about Tony Robbins? He got that positioning because he figured out the business. Now, he had the chops to back it up. He had the skills, he had the knowledge. He was helping people. But that was just backed up. Without the business to begin with, without the promotion to begin with, without the sideways sales there to begin with, then you're never going to get out there. So, yeah. Okay, I'm not in the USA. I don't speak English. Don't need to be. This works all over the world. I told this story in a concierge video, one of those videos on the concierge page. I've got this high-end mastermind group. 50 of my closest clients, they all have businesses running from $1 million up to $100 million a year. It's absolutely amazing. But in that group, when we first started it back in 2010, there was people they were in a race to see who could do the first $1 million launch. And we had people from all around the world in this group. And so it's like, they had a competition. They didn't really tell me about it, but they had this competition going on. So then we had the first $1 million launch, and it was Michael from Australia. And then we had the second $1 million launch, and it was Erico from Brazil doing it in Portuguese. And then the third one was one of the guys from the French contingent. I can't remember which one, whether it was Sebastian or Olivier. Sorry guys, can't remember. Did a $1 million launch in French. Did it in France for French-speaking people. Then the next one was in Canada, and then finally Christian came through and got us one in the U.S. The people from the U.S. their egos were getting a little bit bruised, but it just shows it works all over the place. We've got people tuning in from over 200 countries here. We have success stories from around the world, all kinds of different languages. This works wherever you're at, wherever humans are. And the reason is because that sideways sales learning, those mental triggers, they're in all of us. If you're human, you've got those mental triggers in your head. And so this formula will work. Will you tune it a little bit if you're from the UK or if you're from Germany or if you're from Japan? You'll tweak it just a tiny bit, like the languaging, but it will work for you. Okay. The next one is my product isn't high priced. Like, Jeff, your stuff's high priced. You're talking about these people that have these high priced things. My product's low priced. John Gallagher, I just mentioned, edible medicinal plants and herbs, multi-million-dollar business. His primary product is $10 to $12. $10 to $12 a month. It's a membership site. Doesn't sound like much. You put thousands of people in there, it starts to add up. It doesn't need to be high priced. There are some markets that don't support high prices, but those markets tend to be really, really big markets. So it's a pretty nice thing. I'm in a pretty small market, so I can. My market does support higher prices, but it's not a huge market. Okay, it's not going to work. Not my market. It's not going to work in my market. My market has heartfelt people. My market has people who are logic-based. My market has people that think making money is evil. There's all kinds of reasons people say this, but it's wrong. You know, if your market is not an emergency service like a locksmith or a roto-rooter person, or you're like a lawyer, an ambulance chaser lawyer that goes after personal injury claims that's like in the moment, then it's going to work for you. It's going to work for you. So, Jeff, I'll never make $1 million. Never going to make $1 million. You probably won't. I'm not claiming you will. We've had people that have coaching students that have done $1 million launch. We have students that have done multi-million-dollar launch. We have students that have done tens of millions of dollars of launches cumulatively across their launches. But they're the exception. Your average person, it's not like you're going to take this and instantly, boom, first launch $1 million. But one of the things you're going to see, you see all the case studies, they talk about the progression from launch to launch to launch to launch to launch to launch. They get bigger and bigger and bigger. It's about getting started. My first launch did $1,650. My best launch I've ever done, $5.1 million. Which is more important to me? Here's a question for you. Which was more important to me? $1,650 or $5 million? Just absolutely no question. No question whatsoever. That first launch, when I did that first launch, it's like, I didn't think people would actually pay me for something. I never sold anything in my life. I didn't think I could deliver value that people would pay me for. I had that block in my head. But I was desperate. Family was desperate, so I did the launch. And when that's $1,650, it's like, wow, I can make a difference. People will pay me. And I did this one, and maybe I'll do another one, and another one, and another one. And maybe I'll even get better. It proved to me that I could sell. That's way more important than $1 million launch. Way, way more important. So it's not about making $1 million. It's about creating that first launch and getting in business. And then the last one, it's pretty much along the same lines. It's all about your comfort zone. Jeff is completely out of my comfort zone. I mean, you've seen this drawing before. Here's your comfort zone, right inside that circle. And it's like all growth and all learning happens right outside your comfort zone. You've seen that. The reality is, I mean, in this masterclass, I'm doing two things. And one thing I think is probably obvious, and one thing is probably a little less obvious. And the one thing is, I'm teaching you how to do a launch. We're almost we're close to wrapping our third lesson here. How to do the launch, all the strategies and tactics, right? The other one is really, it's convincing you that it's going to work for you. It's the inner game side. Because everything is this outer game and the inner game. The outer game is the strategy, the tactics, how to do the launch. The inner game is just as important. It's convincing you that this will work for you. Because I could teach you all these strategies and tactics, but if you don't actually put it in action, then I failed and you failed. And it's like, why are we sitting? Why are we here? I've been talking a long time. My voice is starting to go. You probably noticed. You've been sitting there watching me a long time. It's like, what's the point if you're not going to move forward? What's the point? It's just worthless to me if you don't move forward, right? Worthless. Doesn't do me any good whatsoever. And so I have to take care of your inner game. And that thread has been rolling through this entire Launch Masterclass. It's been a little bit, it hasn't been things I've been writing down here. It hasn't been on the agenda. It's sort of the shadow agenda, the hidden agenda. It's me convincing you that you can do it. Because it worked for me. It worked for John Gallagher. It worked for Susan Gear. It's worked for thousands who started from nothing and built something significant. Created a great lifestyle, great income. And the thing that really drives me now is created a great impact, an incredible impact in the world. That's what I'm here is to see you live your best, brightest, most beautiful, most integrated, most authentic, most wholesome life possible and get your work out there. So yeah, I'm going to push your comfort zone. But I've been pushed I've never done one of these before. I've never done a live masterclass. I've never done it before. But I'm like, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to step up and do it. I'm going to do 10, 12 hours because I know I got this material and I'm going to figure out how to deliver it. I don't know if you noticed, but I was a little bit rugged today. I mean, like the last session, I felt like I was on fire. Beginning of this session, I was like misspelling words. I like had the wrong title sheet. It was just a little bit rugged. But it's like, I got a mission. I got a mission for you. I have a big vision for your future. And I want you to get it. And I gotta get you out of your comfort zone. So I understand it can be painful, but that's what this masterclass is about. Okay, so most of these all are about what I call mental head trash. We all have this conversation going on in our head. You know, we got this one conversation, it's like, oh Jeff, you're awesome, you can rock it, you can kill it, you can go do a master class, you're gonna crush it. Yes, you're amazing. And this other one's like, Jeff, who the hell are you to sit here and talk to a camera and have thousands of people? I mean, who are you to tell people how to live? Who are you to talk about their comfort zone? Who the hell are you to talk about this? Who are you to tell people how to live? What to do? I got that. We all have those two voices in our head. So the question is, which one are you going to pay attention to? Which one are you going to pay attention to? Are you going to let that mental head trash, this one over here, that mental head trash, that garbage that's saying, I can't make $1 million, or what happens if I make $1 million? My life will be ruined. Or it works for everyone else, but it's not going to work for me. Jeff can show me example after example after example. He can talk about all the success, but it doesn't work for my market. Or even if it works for my market, it doesn't work for me. That's the mental head trash. So it's your decision. And you know what? No one's perfect at this. Like, those voices, they never stop, no matter how successful. I mean, I've had just success I can't even imagine. I couldn't have imagined. I mean, I've sold tens of millions of dollars of my stuff. When I started out, I didn't think I could sell anything. But I still have this one over here. It's never going to work. You can't do this. This is as big as it's ever going to get. All these, it's always there for everyone. Everyone's got that. Which one are you going to feed? Which one are you going to give energy to? Are you going to give energy to this one? I hope so. Because that's why I'm here. To inspire you, to show you what you can do, what other people have done, what's possible. To get rid of your mental head. Or we're never going to completely get rid of it, but to diminish that one, to starve it as much as possible so that on most days, if I don't sleep much, then you hear this one. Maybe you're hungry, you don't hear this one. You're not getting outside exercise, you hear this one. But you want to feed this one, the good voice. The voice that's telling you you can live a big, huge, amazing life where you're in service of people, where you're helping people, and you create a business that gives you a lifestyle and income and the freedom that you want. Boy, we went long. Do we have some case studies? I think we've got an amazing case study for you here. This one, it's a short one, but it is packed. It is packed end to end. Can we roll that with Mary? So I'm here with Mary Gilkerson, and this is going to be a very special case study. For everyone who's doing some type of creative work out there, you're absolutely going to love this. So Mary, welcome. Really appreciate you joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It is a pleasure to be here.
So could you just tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Okay. I am an artist and was a painting professor at the college and university level for 30 years until I discovered PLF. And at that point, I began to really expand on my online business. I had actually started online in 2012, selling my small paintings and trying to attract more collectors, gradually building my email list, which started out with, I think, about 34 people, 2 of which were me. And then about 2015, I decided to take the plunge and launch an online course. So I took what I was teaching at the college level and translated it to online and was shocked at the response. At that point, there weren't that many online painting courses, and immediately had 34 students and made almost $12,000. And it blew my mind, totally blew my mind. That kept a steady pace for the next part of the next year. And each launch was roughly about the same, between $12,000 and $18,000. So I launched about 4 more times that year and got really excited because I could see a way out of academia and to leave that behind and go to work for myself. Along came November 2016, and I bought PLF, which changed the whole way I was delivering my launches. Up until that point, I'd just been using webinars and not really understanding how to do the selling part, was just teaching and then going, buy my course, which worked sort of, but not nearly like using the structured formula of PLF, which is such a strong concept no matter which strategy you use to deliver it. So when I switched to using the PLF formula instead that January, I launched and more than doubled my normal intake on that, and I made $54,000, which blew my mind even more. So after that, I kept relaunching every quarter. Then last October, I took the course Evergreen, which has really given the business stability because it means that every month I know roughly, give or take a few, how much money is going to come in through that Evergreen funnel, which I created having PLF open on my desktop and writing my emails and then going back to the Evergreen module and then writing my emails and going back to the Evergreen module, testing and tweaking, and discovering it really was a lot of fun doing that. So after I got that one going, then I turned back to launching paintings in addition to launching courses. And that's been equally successful. So it works. Hands down, it works.
That's fantastic. So Mary, a lot of people are asking, does this work for art? Or, art in the bigger sense of just creative work.
Yeah, yeah.
For you. And can you just speak to that a little bit? How do you actually do that? How do you launch your art?
I use email and Facebook Lives. So I usually do it over a 30-day period, although I've done it on a slightly shorter compressed time period from beginning to end, so that I was demonstrating it for some of my students. But when it's over a 30-day period, you have a chance to do pre-launch and give people a taste of what you're working on. So I do a shot across the bow and announce that I'm getting ready to create a new collection around whatever the theme is. And then I tell people that if they want to see sneak peeks and tidbits, they have to sign up to my email list. They sign up to the email list and then they get insider videos and insider snippets and views of a handful of the paintings in the collection, before they actually are launched to the email list. Then as it gets closer to the launch date, I start using opportunity and the other triggers that are so fundamental to PLF within the emails to show them what their life could be like if they had original art in their home and what art can do for them in their own lives. That owning art, whether it's a book or a piece of music or a painting, is a creative act in and of itself. So building that buzz and using social media as a platform to bring people into the fold and get them engaged in that whole process has worked super well. So then roll out the launch, send that email. That's always exciting when you go, the collection is now available. And this past time, my server went down because so many people get it at the same time, all trying to get the same paintings. So I'm going to have to upgrade my server.
Oh my goodness, that is amazing. And I have experienced server issues myself, so I know that's not a good thing.
It's not, but it's a good, bad thing.
Yeah. So you're in a launch right now, I think.
I am.
You are, as we speak, you're literally in a launch for your artwork. And in that collection, how many paintings?
All total, there are 31. We have a little hurricane off the coast, so it slowed me down on getting part 2 up there. But I took that as an opportunity to keep the engagement level up and to sort of do a second little release, like releasing a bonus, so that they're still all caught up in the energy and the excitement of it. So I'm probably even going to do a little hurricane painting to keep them engaged on that.
Are you actually using the
I am. You have to. It's out there, so I might as well use it. You have to seize those opportunities. So the first part of the collection that I released, there were 16 paintings in it. And the first 12 hours, 6 of those paintings sold.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And what kind of pricing are these paintings?
I use daily paintings, small paintings as an entry level for collectors into my funnel and into my community and my world. So the lowest price is around $350, and they go all the way up to $12,000.
Wow. Amazing. And you're selling, this is, I just love it. And so, can we just dig it just a little bit more into these? The way you put together this sequence is fantastic. So you have so everyone watching, we can follow the jargon when we start using these, but there's actually, before the sideways sales letter, there's something we call the pre-launch. And of course, there's many levels of PLF, and so this is just another level. There's a pre-launch. So including your pre-launch and your pre-launch and your open cart period is a total of 30 days. But let's just focus on the pre-launch itself. So the first piece that was the opportunity you talked about, and this is actually the opportunity to have original art in your life and how that's going to change your life and who you are. Did I get that right?
Yeah, you did. You did. And what I talked about leading up to that was what learning to see deeply does, so that the whole process of making art and collecting art and appreciating art, whatever level it is about learning to see deeply and slow down and take in all of the richness of life. So that was the pre, and then the opportunity of having it in your own home. And so one of the tweaks I want to do for next time is to do some setup shots ahead of time with the art hanging in a home, not my home, but somebody else's home, and get them to talk about it.
Where people compete, and well, actually, before I ask that question, then stepping forward, like your second piece, I got so many questions. Second piece of pre-launch content, what was the theme of that one?
That one was when I dove more deeply into how the paintings make you feel. So it was the inner beliefs. It was addressing what might be inner objections to owning art or why they should have art. And then the third piece really was focusing more on the external, on this is how you go about doing it. This is what we can do to make it easier, make the purchase more simple. You can have a bonus of shipping. I've used no shipping cost as a bonus on there, and address all of that in the third piece.
That's amazing. Now, I've seen a lot of people, artists, when they do a launch, the launch can be as much about the creation of the work and also and a little behind the scenes of the artist's life.
Mm-hmm.
And do you work that in there as well?
I do. That's in the pre-pre. That's the sneak peeks that they get. So I take them into my studio, shoot video of that so that they can see it. Take them on location when I'm out painting so that they get to see that. And show snippets of that on social media to get people to go sign up to the email list so that they can be on the insiders VIP part. So yeah, I definitely do that part too.
And it sounds like a lot of your launch is email based. So you have some
email and Facebook Live, email and video, and I love live video. I love being able to talk with people and interact with them and answer their questions. I think that people buy art as much for the connection with the artist as they do for the physical piece. So I think it's important to do that engagement part.
That's fantastic. So it is a really low tech launch. I mean, email.
Yeah.
And Facebook Live with your phone. I mean, it's about low tech as you can get.
It is.
That's awesome. And then do you actually, when you like open up cards, do you have people like racing or competing to get the one that they want?
I did. You know, it's an axiom of the art world that whatever piece is on the postcard that goes out for a gallery opening is the first one to sell. So the pieces that were in the emails, I did, maybe 8 emails that featured a piece at the top. Those were the ones that people were fighting over. And that, I think, actually is what brought the server down, is they were all clicking on the same piece at the same time. And the scripts on the server side just went, blah.
You know what you could probably do is you could probably have that, if it was, I'm not super technical these days, but if it was pulling an image from your server, you could probably find a way to rotate that image so different people were getting an email with different images.
Yeah.
That could be interesting. That could be super.
Or even do an auction so that when the collection goes live, then they can bid on the pieces. That was another twist I was playing with.
Interesting. Well, this has been fantastic. Absolutely amazing. I love what you're doing. What would you say to someone who is just wondering about whether they can launch their art and whether this will actually work for them? Or maybe they're an artist and they think, I just create good art and it will sell. Or maybe they think that selling is somehow beneath them or dirty or whatever. What would you say to that person?
This is the easiest way to sell without being salesy. I never, ever said in the entire email sequence that I sent out in that launch, buy my paintings. It was all about building that relationship and then issuing invitations. And I think that's what PLF really is all about, is presenting people with an opportunity or an invitation to become part of whatever it is that you're leading them towards. So does it work? Oh, heck yes. It definitely works. And I think it's easier for artists in a lot of ways than the traditional gallery route, because if you're shy, if you're an introvert, it's a lot easier to engage on social media and online than it is in person. So you've got some time to think about what you're going to say. You've got some time to kind of filter your messages. And it's not super high tech to do it this way. So there are not that many barriers to entry. So I would say go for it, launch.
Mary, this has been great. I just really loved hearing your story. It's super creative what you're doing, and congratulations on your success. Absolutely amazing.
Thank you. And thank you for PLF.
Don't you just love Mary? That was just such a great conversation we had. So just a few highlights. So in case you missed it, Mary was a college professor, an art professor for 30 years. So I don't know about you, but my impression is art professors, I don't think of as being extraordinary entrepreneurs, extraordinary salespeople, but holy cow, look at her results. She has gone evergreen. So I talked about that a few minutes ago. She's put together an evergreen launch, making sales all the time. She's selling both a course on how to paint as well as paintings. So she's doing both of them. She talked about the hurricane. So if you're from outside the States, you probably don't know, but there's a hurricane that is hitting the East Coast. It actually hit a couple days ago when I talked to Mary, and it hit Carolina, the South Carolina, North Carolina, right where she's at. So she took the hurricane and she made that part of her launch story. So you remember back, a couple hours ago when we first started, I talked about stories and how important they are. And also about, here's my little drawing of a parachute. It's a pretty nice parachute drawing. Hurricane hits, it's not the greatest thing. If you're in business, you're trying to get your work done, a hurricane hits, it's a distraction, it's not amazing for business, but she, because of the parachute, she took that instead of being a problem and turned it into a positive, made it part of the story, and made it part of her launch. It makes it real. It's one of the ways that's authenticity, that's making it real. It's creating a conversation. It's talking about what's happening in your life. Super low-tech launches. She uses email and Facebook Live. So email, you've already got email. I know you do. You might not love it, but you've got email. And then you probably are on Facebook, and you probably have a smartphone. If you have a smartphone or a computer, and you're on Facebook, you can do Facebook Live. There's just a button that says go live. So this is about as low-tech as it gets. About as low-tech as it gets, and yet, she's selling her paintings from anywhere from $350 to $12,000. No fancy video, no fancy web pages, email, and a Facebook Live. And selling. Before you got on here, could you imagine you could sell paintings for $12,000 via email? Enough to create server problems? I mean, is that crazy or what? She also mentioned the idea of the shot across the bow. That's just like a lot of these folks that you're hearing from. They're in Product Launch Formula in the coaching program, so they use our jargon, our technology. The shot across the bow is part of the pre-launch. We talked about that a couple hours ago when I was going through the different sequences. And then finally, I love this part. She said, I never once in this launch, I can't remember how many paintings she sold, but she's on her way to selling out. She was in the middle of her open cart period when we talked, so she was on her way to selling out her paintings. I think, 20 paintings or something like that. She said she never once asked people to buy her stuff. She just gave them invitations. So this is, like she said, this is the way to sell without being salesy. This is the way to sell by building value. So just absolutely loved it. Super quick, super tight, but so much value packed in that. Love talking to Mary. Okay, we've got one more case study. I know you're going to love this one. Then let's go to Luis. And I'm here with Luis Carlos Flores, and Luis has just an extraordinary story to tell you. He's done amazing things with his launches. Luis, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Jeff. It's a great honor to be here with you. Thank you. Thank you for inviting.
You're welcome. I can't wait for people to hear what you've done. Can you just tell them a little bit about yourself and your business?
Well, my wife and I, we're both psychotherapists. We live in Mexico. And, for the past a little over 15 years, we've been helping parents become really awesome, great parents. Originally, we started teaching parenting skills in schools and in different forums, in psychology forums, etc. And we did that for a large number of years. And at one point, we moved out of Mexico City. And we had this idea that we saw some things were going on online. This was about 4 years ago. And we thought, hey, we can do this. We've been, featured in radio, TV shows, and we're relatively well known out there. We can figure this online thing out. So we started our project, and that's how we came into the online business. But what I want to say here is that when we started out, we knew nothing about the online world. We were basically husband and wife psychotherapists helping out parents that actually recognized that they needed help acquiring parenting skills to do a great job with their kids. And then we started our blog, and we started publishing on Facebook. We didn't really know much about that, but we just started publishing, getting our message out there. And our community started to grow. We had a lot of people paying attention to what we did, but when it came time to promote a workshop or to actually try to do some kind of an online conference or something, we did not know how to turn viewers or followers into buyers. That just wasn't happening, or at least it wasn't happening in a scale in which it was even remotely sustainable. So after a few months, we had actually decided to really focus on doing this. So I had dropped most of my work in the city. I was already living outside, and we were sort of running into trouble because we were running out of money, because we were dedicating so much time to community building. It got to a point where we had almost 100,000 followers on Facebook, and I think we had maybe 50 purchases in 7 or 8 months, which, it's absolutely unsustainable. It's nice, I have 100,000 followers, it feels great, but if it doesn't turn into a sustainable income, you just can't do it. And I remember I got to a point where I wanted to throw the towel, just forget this whole thing, go back to what I was doing before, and just forget it. I didn't have it in me, or it wasn't for me. It was for millennials, or I don't know, but it sure wasn't for me because it wasn't working. Right. And that's when a friend showed me your material, your launch videos. And I have to say that at first I had seen some stuff, but they were kind of like pieces of the online puzzle. And since I had actually tried to build that puzzle on my own and it didn't work, I was pretty reluctant when I saw your stuff at first. I didn't even want to see it, honestly. But in the first 5 to 10 minutes of watching your launch and seeing what you were about, which was like very clear, very honest, no crazy promises. This is how it works. It appealed to the scientist in me, and I figured this is making a lot of sense. But at that time, I knew that I only had a couple of months worth of cash to go on the business that we had started. And I knew that if I was going to launch, I had to launch like now. I already had a course announced, and the date was set. Like 3 people had bought, so it was a commitment to those 3 people. Right. So I said, you know what? I'm watching this video. I'm going to take notes, and I'm going to follow. And we dived into it. We studied it, and we actually did our first launch. On the fly in 3 weeks. I mean, your course is very beefy, Jeff. There's a lot to study. There are many levels to getting to master it. And doing it in 3 weeks is something that I would never recommend anything to try to do. It's crazy. We did it, and it absolutely worked. I remember we sold 130 spots on our training in about 10 days. And then we did that training, and that was the beginning of our journey. I mean, I remember back then even our team didn't believe in what we were doing, which it was a team of 5. It was just Gabi and me doing the videos, doing everything. They were helping out, but since they didn't understand what we were doing, it was like, guys, we gotta do something else. This is not gonna work. But when they saw the results, they really onboarded. And since then, it has just been growth and growth and growth. The last 3.5 years of my life have not gone the way I could have remotely imagined it would go.
And so primarily you're working with, you're teaching parents how to be great parents, and all your work at this point at least is in Spanish. So you're mostly working in Mexico, Latin America, South America, I assume Spain to some extent.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's online training.
Yes, it's 100% online. So here's the thing. In the U.S. and Europe, in first world countries, so to speak, online shopping is a really big trend. Everybody does it. And if you can shop online and not go to a store, you will probably do it. That's where the U.S. is right now, right? So the Hispanic world is about 6 or 7 years behind on that trend. Even Brazil sells about 4 times more than the Hispanic market. So it is a maturing market. It's a much slower one. So that when I started doing this, I believed that the reason why it wasn't working for me was because I'm in the Hispanic world, so to speak. So people don't buy online. So a bit of contrast. Right now, in every generation that we open, we have about 1,500 students on every class and every launch. We're going into a launch next week, as a matter of fact, and our strategy is built so that we have over 2,000 students on this generation, and that represents about $500,000 in a launch, in a single launch. So that's what we're going for. So that whole when I remember when I started, I used to tell me all of these things, have all these limiting beliefs and ideas about how it didn't work or it didn't work for me. And over time, I've been able to challenge those ideas and destroy them, which makes me really happy, but especially because now I'm having this impact in the Hispanic world. On my last launch, we had 229,000 opt-ins, 229,000 parents all over the world registered to watch our free videos. That is just, mind-boggling that so many parents are taking steps in becoming better parents and committing to watching a whole training like this. It's not a watch 1 3-minute viral video kind of thing. It's a commitment. It's a study commitment. And
how does that feel? How does it feel? I mean, you used to work as a psychotherapist and work one-on-one with people, and to think 229,000 that you can impact. How does that feel?
Jeff, it's beyond words. I remember I've done this work for a long time. I've done the work of going to a school and selling myself to do a workshop, a 2-hour workshop with parents. And the school will bring these parents against their own will, and they will sit there, and the first, 20 minutes, half an hour, I will have to do this work to really engage these people and gain their trust, because they don't know me, and they come because the school requires it. It's a very cold audience that doesn't really care. They're just, fulfilling their duty to the school. And by the end of that time, of the 2 hours, maybe I would have some clients that would sign up for therapy or for group sessions or something. And it was a lot of struggling to get clients and a lot of effort trying to convince people or open their minds to something that they didn't really feel that they needed in the first place. So it's really rewarding actually doing the work when they value it. But getting them to understand it, it was so hard. It was so hard. And now I only work with people that understand the value and that they are so engaged. They love it. They talk about the transformation. They talk about their problems. It's more than even just me teaching or my wife. It's a community. It is such a powerful, transformative community movement that it is beyond words. Jeff, I get messages every single day, every day, for years now since we started. We get thank you messages. When you get that kind of feedback of love from your community, your sense of self changes. It changes forever. Your sense of commitment to your mission, it just, there are no words to describe how I feel about doing this, or it's just, there are too many words to try to describe it, Jeff.
Luis, so you started out and you had this idea for like a school to help parents, and then you were able to do that first launch, and you were able to get, I think you said 130 students, and that was a big win. But now you're reaching thousands, and you're doing these launches. You have a goal of $500,000 at your upcoming launch. And what have you? And so you've gone through a big transition through those launches.
Yeah.
And what's like one of the biggest lessons you've learned in your actual launches, and how you do them and how you approach them?
So there's an internal lesson that has been really big for me. Ever since I went to school, I sort of acquired the idea because I got some feedback around this, and my parents really loved me. So I have this idea that I'm a really smart guy. I figure things out. I'm a pretty good problem solver. I'm really quick at math. And, I have, so when I came to the online launch world, I thought I already thought I knew everything. Even though life was proving me wrong, it had done that more than once. So, the one big internal lesson for me has been, around the idea of humility, of really listening to my team, really listening to other voices, and especially listening to my audience, to not resist the idea that I know what's best for them, this big I on a throne, and understanding the value in what I need to give, but also going into their world and understanding what it is they are asking of me. One of the big reasons why what I did before KLF was not working was because I was trying to hammer what I thought the world needed into their, collected brains. And that was not well received. But when I followed your process and started getting information from the market and really paying attention to it, and this was really hard for me. That was, I think it was one of the hardest things. It seems like it's a follow the steps process, but in order for me to implement those steps, I had to get out of my own head. So that was my big learning. I think it has been my biggest inner shift in the last 4 years. And it's still an ongoing process, I have to say. I'm not quite at the other side of this yet. I don't think I'll ever be, but I'm so grateful for really understanding that and bringing it into my life. It has deepened my relationship with my wife, with my kids, with my own parenting method. It has augmented my learning process. It's contributed so much in so many ways. So this goes way beyond just business. And as far as business goes, it's very similar. You need to listen to your market constantly and to learn from every launch. I remember on our first launch, we sold, it was a little over $13,000. And then I brought someone from my team to really study this PLF thing with me and Gabby. And we put all of our brains together, even though I already thought I knew everything. Well, they proved me wrong many, many times over. And then on our second launch, 3 months later, we sold, we quadrupled that result. We sold $52,000. And then on our third launch, we almost doubled that again. And it's been, climbing up that stair process, but it's always based on listening and studying what works, what didn't work, making adjustments and going at it again. So there's a lot of learning in the process. It's not a study it and implement it and you're set for life kind of thing. There's a lot of learning to be done. At least it has been like that for me.
Well, that's great, and thank you, because I'm not about, this is get rich quick, you're going to make $1 million overnight, but that progression from 13 to 52 to 100,000 to now you're aiming at $500,000, that shows the growth, because it's the same for me, and so much of my story. I didn't get here overnight, still. But it's great. So one last question for you. For someone, there's going to be a lot of people watching this, as you know. And for someone at home, and you're a scientist and a psychotherapist, so it's great. And they're wondering if this could possibly work for them. What would you say to them?
So I remember being at that crossroad when I was questioning whether this would work for me or not. And, in your head, you can do the whole pros and cons list. You can do many things. But what really made me take this step was that I listened to my heart. And though this might sound like kind of corny but it actually is not. If you have a message, if there is something inside you that can help others, can lend a hand, can train people, if there is some knowledge that you need to pass on because it's your life experience or it's a special skill set, whatever it is, it's a part of you that has value and that you know this in your heart, listen to that voice. Listen to it. Because the rest is just, it's a process of learning, of taking action, implementing, doing the work, and then listening, so to speak, to what happens in the market, gathering information, rebuilding, restructuring, and moving on from there. So it's a process, but it only begins when you believe in yourself, when you listen to that voice that says, I need to do this. I need to go ahead and do this and see if this works, see it for myself. And if you believe that that message is there for a reason, then listen to that voice, because you may be surprised where that voice will take you. I sure have been.
Luis, you're awesome. Thank you so much. This has been great.
Thank you, Jeff. It's always a pleasure being with you, and you're doing such incredible work. I always say to all of my friends and to you that I don't think you have any idea of the impact that you are having in the world. And I'm so happy that my community knows about you. They know who is my mentor. And I'm so happy to share that message with them as well.
Thanks, Luis. Is Luis amazing or what? Just give him a shout out. I know he's down in the comments answering questions and comments. So the people I get to meet, it's like, how did I get this life? It's just absolutely amazing. So a few things, there's a lot in there. So I love Luis. He's accomplished professional. Luis and Gabby, his wife, accomplished professional psychotherapists working one-on-one with people. And they wanted to take their work out beyond one-on-one, and they wanted to start working with more people. So they had success. They had 100,000 people following them on Facebook. That's just crazy, amazing. Unfortunately, they weren't making any sales. They were actually technically were making a few sales, but hardly any sales whatsoever. This goes back to that sort of that influencer thing. It's like, it's great to get likes, well, but it doesn't actually do you any good. Then, within their first launch, they did 3 weeks to $13,000. And then it's like, oh, wow, there might be a future here. Even though Luis was a little reluctant when he first found my work. Then 13,000 to shortly after 52,000 to 100,000. And now their launches are running, it sounds like in the $450,000 range, and they're aiming at $500,000 in this launch they're just about to start. Absolutely amazing. Progression. That's the word that I think of when I just see this, is progression. And you see that over and over in these case studies. Progression. I've seen that in my business. Progression. It's, that goes back to that, you're not going to make $1 million in your first launch. I can't think of anyone that's done $1 million in their first launch. I mean, you build, it's a progression. He's been putting 1,500 people in his workshops, and now he's upped his capacity. They've built out their capacity, so now they can handle 2,000. And he talked about like, he used to go into schools and give presentations to people that didn't care, didn't want to be there, weren't interested, and just the pain of going through that. And now he's going to put between 1,500 and 2,000 people. These are people who are willingly watching his videos. He had 229,000 people opt in for his last launch. So when I say the best way to build a list is with a launch, that's how they did it. They put out great content and got great word of mouth. I'm not sure if they did any Facebook advertising, but I know a large percentage of this was just through word of mouth and the fact that they had great content, great pre-launch content, a great sideways sales letter. 229,000 people So before, he would go to a school and speak there, and the school officials would force people to come and watch him, and he tried to convince people who didn't want to be there. How miserable is that? And now he's got 229,000 people who, in his last launch, were willingly went and opted in, and willingly, not only willingly, but enthusiastically watched his videos. So, I mean, here's the thing. Remember one of the 5 freedoms I talked about back in lesson 1 and lesson 2? One of the freedoms is who you work with. And that could be your coworkers, your boss, the freedom to work with people you want to work with. Here, he has the freedom to work, not to stand in front of us in a school gymnasium and talk to people who don't want to be there, but to work with people who are enthusiastic about his work and want to learn. How much better is your life if you're talking to people that want to hear from you? And then, no pain. 1,500 to 2,000 people. Absolutely ridiculous. And Louise talked about, his limiting belief that's mental head trash. I mean, one of those is, I already knew that. This idea, I already knew that, I disagree. But those are things you have to set aside. You have to be open. You have to be willing. So, I mean, they're crazy. So, here's just a running tally of some of the case studies, markets they've been in. We have Jeff Noble and fetal alcohol syndrome. We had Una in fitness and weight loss. We had Tembi in real estate investing, and also empowering women in Africa. We had Kara in cake decorating. We had Eric in accounting, or accountants, teaching accountants. Check that one out. All of these are available. You can see the replays of all of these case studies. If you go to the replay page, they're all down the right-hand side. We had Luis in parenting in Spanish. He's selling into Latin America and Spain and Mexico. And we had Mary selling her paintings for $12,000 and also teaching how to paint. Is that like a nice little portfolio? Crazy. So let me tell you how this is going to go. So we're at 2 hours and 45 minutes. Are you still with me? If you're still with me, type in the comments. Say, I'm still with you, Jeff. Go ahead, type it in. Are you still with me? Because I can still bring the energy. I just went, holy cow, I went 2 hours straight, and then we went to the case studies, but now I'm back. I'm ready to roll. I might end up sitting down at some point here. So now we're going to go to Q&A. I'm going to do some Q&A here, answer some questions. We've gone long already, 2 hours and 45 minutes. Thank you for staying with me. This is what we've got. We've got question and answer. I think we're going to go a little long today. And frankly, the blueprint always seems to go long because there's a lot here. I only covered a small fraction there, but there's a lot there. And I wanted some pretty big sidebars and gave you some insights into some things about the way this business really works. Took some questions. So we've gone long, but we're just going to jump right into the questions. We do still have the super secret segment coming at some point, so stay with me. So, is that okay? Is it okay if we go a little bit long? Does that work for you? Just so I can get a few more questions. With 14 minutes now, I probably wouldn't get to too many, but is that okay? If it's cool with you that I go long, just let me know down in the comments. I'll give you a second. Okay, I sort of thought you would be okay with that. So let's, you guys pull up some questions for me. Okay, so Kurt says, how do you learn all the technological aspects of doing a launch, videos, uploading, website creation, domain issues, etc., etc.? Great question, Kurt. One of the biggest, most prevalent themes within our community is baby steps. You learn it one step at a time. You learn it one step at a time. And all that stuff is learnable and doable and figure outable. You don't, it's like, we're going to need a whole fresh sheet of paper now that we're into questions and answers. My business has been like this. It's been a series of gradual steps. Your skills get better, your message gets better, your offer gets better, your tech gets better, and you just keep on taking small steps. So no one knows, I didn't know any of this stuff. I didn't know what an upload was. I didn't know what a domain was when I started. You just gradually figure it out. You gradually figure it out step by step. You get the coaching. You find people that can do it for you. You don't have to do it all. There's VAs out there that you can hire for low dollars that can handle some of the technical stuff. There's great tools out there that you can have great tutorials. And you'll start at the most basic and you go from there. You heard Mary say she was doing it with Facebook Live and email. That's it, Facebook Live and email. And send people into an order form. You can have an order form with PayPal, like nothing. Samcart, like nothing. So it's just, no one knows all this stuff coming in. They just gradually learn. And it's just a decision. It's like, I'm going to figure it out. At the beginning, I couldn't figure it out, so I said, send me a check. There's always a way. There's always a way when you get, and frankly, when you get surrounded by the right community that can answer your questions, the right coaching that can answer your questions, and that can drive you forward. They can hold your feet to the fire when you've got this voice going instead of this voice. So no one knows how to do any of this stuff in the beginning. And you just, here I'm going to point to all my case studies that were listed on another piece of paper. None of them were experts. You just take it step by step, baby steps. You worry about the next step. Yes, you have your eye on the prize. You know where you're going in the long run. But you're just taking the next step. You worry about the next step, not 100 steps down the road. Okay, Dennis asked, I already have an older series of videos that would be awesome for a launch, but there are 5 of them. Do you think the slightly longer launch will affect their results? I think you could go a little longer. Some launches have more than 3 pieces of pre-launch content. There's magic in the word 3. Or not the word 3, but there's magic in the number 3. There's like the 3x play. Songs have 3 parts. There's the Star Wars. There's a reason they had trilogies, right? And how many trilogies are there? There's 3 trilogies. So 3 is sort of a magical number. You know, there's the rising action, the falling action, the climax. The novel's got 3 parts. It's just it's just everywhere. It's just everywhere. Doesn't mean that 5 can't work, but the reality is if you created these videos and they weren't designed to be a sideways sales letter, a product launch formula sideways sales letter, they're probably not the right videos. This isn't a matter of, oh yeah, Jeff said 3 videos on a sales video. I got 3 videos on my YouTube channel. I'll just put those 3 videos out. That's not the point. It's like you have these videos and they have a story arc. They have a story arc. And each one has a little mini story arc, but there's an overall story arc. And that story arc lands on the sale. It's the story, the overall story, and we have that PS part of it. You're not going to have that in those 5 videos. You're not going to have that. It's not going to be designed as an overall story arc. I mean, this masterclass is the story of you launching. The story of you launching. The story of you getting launched. It's of you launching and having the lifestyle, the income, the freedom, and the impact. This is your story. There's 2 parts of that story. That, like I just said a little earlier, there's the story of the sideways sales letter and the strategies and the tactics and which launch, but there's also the story of your heroic journey within you. Because when I'm asking you to step up and bring your biggest, best, brightest self and do a launch, I'm asking you to step up. And like I just talked about a few minutes ago, there's an inner transformation. When you launch, you're not going to be the same person you were before this masterclass started. That old, you can't step in the same river twice. You are irrevocably changed for having gone through this masterclass. Especially if you've been with me from the beginning. 3 lessons where, by my watch here, We're 9 hours into it. You're not the same person you were at the beginning. And you're not going to be the same person you were. You're not going to be the same person once you have launched. You can't imagine who I was. I mean, I had the same values. My values haven't changed. Frankly, my goals haven't changed. They've gotten bigger. But my perception of myself and my perception of my ability to create, my ability to design the exact life I want, to design the business I want, my belief in my ability to attract an amazing team and lead that team, my ability to like make an impact and help people and help them help people, I couldn't recognize who I was 22 years ago when I started. And so you're not going to be the same person. Right now, you have already changed, right? Let me ask this question. Are you a different person now than you were before lesson 1? Can you see greater possibilities for yourself? Are you starting to walk around and just in your normal life, walking around and saying, boy, that restaurant would probably be a lot better if they put together a sequence. Or this store should probably be collecting email addresses. Or this website, they've got a really messed up sales process. Or this guy gets it. They get the connection. They get the authenticity. And oh, look at they're putting together a sequence. You're a different person now than you were before. Am I right? Type in the comments. Let me see. Am I right? Are you a different person than you were a week ago before that first lesson? And you're going to be a different person when you launch. And my job is to tell this story. To tell the story of your future. That's what I'm here for. Because I can teach you tactics and strategies, and I have, and I will, and I hope you I hope this is the beginning of our relationship, and it continues. But I also have to tell the story of what's in here for you, and what's in here, and how you gotta listen to this voice and feed that voice. So that's a bit of a sidebar, but the odds are if you just take those 5 videos you already shot, they're not going to tell this story. They're not going to tell this hero's journey for your people. Think about that. That's what's so awesome about this Sideways Sales Letter. That's what's so awesome about this launch, is that whoever you're serving, whoever you're working with, whether it's soccer players or tennis players or baseball players or guitarists or ukulele players or piano players or meditation or yoga or Ralphing or raw food or vegan or paleo or whatever, you have these people you're serving and you get to take them on a journey to a better, brighter self, to a more fulfilled and happier, more pain-free, more fulfilled person. People that have great relationships, people that are great parents, people that are great spouses, people that are great tennis players. You get to show them this journey. You get to take them on this journey. And then when you get here and they become clients, you get to go that much deeper. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I have a video. In fact, maybe I'll show it to you in the next lesson. I just remember this video. And I don't know if it's a perfect fit, but it tells a story of a moment where, in a very short, 3-minute video, it lets you into my life a little bit and what it's like to be able to help so many people and make that impact. It's ridiculous. Okay, let's get on to a question. Boy, if I take this long in each question, it's going to be we're going to be here for a long time. Is this cool? Is it okay? We're about up on our 3 hours. Is it okay if we go long? Okay, I got at least one vote. There's some more. Bethany, how long of a prep time is needed to launch? 3 to 4 months, weeks? Does it depend on the type of launch? It depends on the type of launch. It depends on where you are in your business. It depends on your skills. It depends on your experience. You heard, I keep on turning back to reference my let's just flip that here. Luis was 3 weeks to get it all done. We have a case study coming up on lesson 4 that was another one that took 3 weeks. Me, because I'm sort of like, I'm not the quickest mover in the world, and I like to just study and gather information. I'm like one of those, maybe you're like this, you're like ready, aim. This is me. Ready, aim, 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 fire. That's sort of the way I am. It's not the way to be, not a good way to be. Especially in this business, it's usually to do a seed launch, ready, fire, aim. That's usually the best way to be in this business. But I take forever. But if we look, Jeff was a guy, he just jumped right into it. Una just jumps right into it. Pendy just jumps right into it. I'm not sure about Kara. I think she's probably a little bit more like me. I don't know, Kara, if you're down in the comments there. Kara, she sort of did a beta launch first, and then she went for it. Eric, the dude, was already fire aim. He went from joining the coaching program in September to, I think it would launch in November. So, boom. Obviously, Luis was 3 weeks. Mary sort of seemed like just get it done. So it's all over the place. It really is. And you know what? A quick launch, you could do that in a day or two. Even I can do that in a day or two. A seed launch, you could do that very, very quickly. A JV launch, that takes some work. That takes some work. So it is really all over the place, both in the type of launch and sort of where you're at in your experience, but also where you're at in your temperament. Like I said, it takes me a while to get stuff done. Okay. Jonathan Wall, what's the best way to judge if your first PLC works or not? Works in quote mark. So first of all, the best way to judge is to do a seed launch, because you're gonna figure it out real quick. And then you watch the comments, you watch the conversation, you watch how people are engaging, you watch if they're see how deep they're getting into the video. There's so much feedback. My team, I joke with my team, one of the things I'm good at is reading the tea leaves. So that's this idea of, I'm gathering all this data, I'm watching all this data, and I'm sort of getting a feel for the launches. And you'll develop that too. As you get in a launch, you're getting all kinds of feedback from the market. So the market will tell you whether your PLC works or not. And the seed launch is the easiest way to do that. Tiger Pickett says, how do you handle the haters and the emotions they stir besides having raving fans? Well, having raving fans is a good one. The haters. Unfortunately, we live in a world where almost everyone will have people that say negative things. So this is the thing. The deal is it's a decision. It's a decision for you. It's like you can let the 1 or 2% of haters drag you down and keep you from your mission. Which your mission, it might be like I was when I started out, and I was just trying to support the family, or it might be the mission that I evolved into, which is helping entrepreneurs change the world. And it's like, I think it was Churchill said, if those who stop to throw stones at every barking dog will never get to their destination. If you stop and throw stones at every dog that barks, you'll never get to your destination. So, it's like, the reality is like, there are people that they get their self-worth from going online and leaving negative comments. It's the world we live in. It's just the reality. There are people grumping in the comments on this masterclass. It's like, whatever. There's thousands of people leaving, or thousands of positive comments, and 1 or 2 negative comments. As humans, we got something in our brains. I don't know what trigger this is, but there's a trigger that, for some reason, we pay more attention to those 2 or 3 or 4 or 10 people that give us a thumbs down, and we forget about the 1,000 people that give us a thumbs up. But again, do you want to feed this one? This is the Jeff, you're awesome voice, or Jeff, just give up voice. One or the other. You can feed this one or the other. We all have both voices, and sometimes one voice is stronger than the other, but if you give this more intention and more energy, if you're eating right, if you're getting your meditation in, if you're getting your sleep in, if you're getting your exercise in, and you're around the right people in the right community, it's a lot easier to feed this one. So, yeah, it's just like, whatever. They're having a bad day. They didn't get enough sleep. It's like, someone snapped at them at work. They've, well, the ones that really go after you, it's like, I just think, boy, it must really suck to live inside their head, to live inside their life, that they have to bring this energy. So I just try to feel compassion for them. I mean, when I'm at my best, that's what I do. I'm like, man, it must really suck to be them. I'm glad I'm living inside my head. Okay. Let's see. Scott says, what do you suggest I use to determine what the market wants versus needs if you have no list? This is a seed launch. I mean, you start to build a list. You start to put, first, when you're building that list, you start publishing in some way. Publishing is a fancy word. Anyone's a publisher these days. If you've ever made an update on Facebook, if you ever put an update on Facebook, if you ever put a tweet out, you're a publisher. If you ever put a photo on Instagram, you're a publisher. So, if you're putting photos out on Instagram, you can just see what people like and what they don't like, right? It's the same way with your launch. There's a saying, it's an old military saying that no battle plan survives contact with the enemy. So you might think you know everything, you're going into battle, but you get there, and another way to say it is the other side is a vote. So you're playing tennis, or you're playing football, or you're playing whatever sport. You might go into the strategy, but the other side gets a vote. And I don't want to make it sound controversial, like you're in a competition with your market, because you're not. But you have to go in there knowing that what you think is right might not be right. And that's what Luis said. Luis is like, I finally realized I have to own this fact that I might be smart, but don't know what's going on for my people. They know they vote. They vote by joining my list, 229,000. They vote by buying from me. So you have to get into the game. Remember, so the way you get in the game is an offer. The way you get an offer is a seed launch. You have to get into the game to find out what the market wants. When I started publishing about the stock market, this is 1996, 1997, I put up a bunch of web pages that had, it was so hard to do this stuff back then, just put a simple web page. Putting a picture, an image on the website took me like 4 days to figure that out, and I'm serious. So I put up some charts of this historic stock market, some of the historic bear markets and bull markets. Bear markets is where the market goes way down, bull markets is where the market goes way up. So I was interested in bull markets because I'm interested, how do I make money in the market? Invest when the market's going up. So I was interested in the bull markets, but just because I was trying to create free content so people would come and subscribe to me, I put up charts of famous bull markets and famous bear markets. I was a bit of a market historian at the time. I thought people would be more interested in the bull markets. What I found is I got 10 times as much interest in the bear markets. So what did I do? Did I sit there and wring my hands that, oh man, why aren't they into bull markets? I'm into bull markets. They should be in the bull markets. Bull markets is where you make your money. No, I didn't wring my hands about that. I was just like, wow, people are into bear markets. I'm just going to publish a whole bunch more content about bear markets. You let the market vote. The best way to do that is with a seed launch. Okay, I want to offer a series of photography workshops in 2019. Does it make sense to have an open cart for only a few days when in fact I want to have people enroll over a period of months? Well, I think the best thing is like if you sold them all out immediately, that would be the best. Like if you put together a good launch and you might have those workshops, maybe they're every month all year long, but if like this November, you could sell out all of next year's, wouldn't that be better? So, there's a lot of different ways to structure this. It depends how big your list is. It depends how big the workshops are, how many seats you have available, what the price is, where they're at, how effective you are at selling them. But you could roll them out one at a time. You could roll out a few at a time. You could roll out the whole series. So, the key is that this sideways sales letter is, I mean, the beautiful thing is remember this goes back to lesson 1. Part of the whole process is to turn your marketing into an event. And since you're inherently selling an event, you don't have to work very hard to turn it into an event. Your only decision is going to be which ones to sell when. It's that simple. Leah says, would you call the PL strategy a business plan, or is it part of a business plan? Would you call the PL strategy a business plan, or is it part of a business plan? So we're getting a little bit into semantics here. It's just like a rhetorical question, so to speak. I am all about getting you launched. But really what I'm about is about getting you an amazing business. But at the end of the day, you don't really want a business. You want what a business gives you. It gives you lifestyle, it gives you income, it gives you freedom, time freedom, it gives you freedom of place, it gives you freedom of who you work with, and it gives you the freedom to make the impact. A lot of us are driven to make an impact. It can give you the whole spectrum. So I'm all about getting you those results. And I think the way you get those results is through a business. And the lifeblood of a business is sales. It's sales, outer game, it's sales, inner game, it's momentum. So a few minutes ago I talked about outer game, inner game. We've all got that going on. The outer game is the strategies, tactics. It's like what's happening outside of us. The inner game is what's happening here and here. So outer game, sales. Inner game is what I call momentum. And what momentum does is, if you're going to do this, if you're going to create that business, or if you're going to take your current business and grow it in a big way, because we've got lots of people watching who are have great businesses. If you're going to take that business and grow it in a great big way, you need to have your inner game clicking. You need to be positive. You need to be upbeat. You need to be creative. You have to be in a good state, in a great mental state. It's hard to be there if you don't have momentum, if your business is fading away. You're either growing or you're dying. That's the way it is in business. And so it's all about getting and maintaining momentum. That's what launches give you. So launches, they give you the money and the momentum. I've talked about that since lesson 1. Money is the outer game, momentum is the inner game. And so is it a strategy, or is it the strategy, or is it a business? I don't know. But it's a way to make sales. It's a way to make sales without being salesy. It's a way to create amazing positioning. It's a way to build a list. It's a way to create a relationship and create raving fans. So it's a fantastic, I don't know if it's a business model or not. I don't really care. All I know is it gets results. And I used to think, frankly, this is a funny one. Limiting belief, mental health trash. I created my mastermind, my Platinum Plus mastermind in 2010. And I thought when I did that mastermind, and it's a very high, it costs a lot of money. And I thought when I started that mastermind, people would join my mastermind and they'd be in it for a year and they'd really get the launch down and they would leave. So it was 2010. And back then we had, I think it was 21, 22, 23 people joining. 2010. I still have 11 of those people in it 8 years later. They've met with me 3 times a year for 8 years. Now it's grown. There's 50 people in it. This isn't don't even think you can get in it. It's sold out. It's perpetually sold out. Almost no one ever leaves. Over 90% renew every year. This is for a type of offer that most people, if they can get 40% to renew their mastermind, they're happy. And I've got over 90% renewing every year. They've been with me for 8 years. They've come to my meetings 24 times from around the world. But I used to think, yeah, they'll just, they'll be in it 1 year and they'll be gone. Well, they've built amazing multi-million-dollar businesses in those 8 years. The average person has 17 times growth. So I'm getting really off track. I don't even want to talk about Platinum Plus because it's not available. You can't get it. I don't want this to feel like a sales message. But those people have turned it into a business model. So anyways, this is all semantics. This is the way you get results. You get sales, you get momentum, you get positioning, you get raving fans, you build a list. I don't know if it's a business model or not. It just works. Raina asks, can you speak to expensive offers? My course is $3,000. Is there a way to nurture the people more to ask for this? I'm afraid the minute I ask for this, they'll drop away. Yeah. We just had one of my students just did an offer $5,000, an online course for $5,000. I've done launches for $5,000. I've done launches for seminars that are for $25,000. So it's great. I mean, this is the way you get higher prices. This is how you get higher prices, is by delivering a lot of value up front. So if you look at this, I could sell this masterclass, and I might take the recordings. I'm not sure. Well, after the dust clears, and I take a look at it. I don't like to watch myself on video that much, but after I look at what I did and evaluate it, we might bundle this and sell it. But the idea is if you deliver a huge amount of value up front, it raises the price of what you can sell eventually. My friend Evan Pagan calls this moving the free line. So like if, so moving the free line is like, if this is the amount of free stuff you give away, this is the pricing line. And if you can give away that much stuff, then you can get this price. But if you move the free line that way, and this is like a value, and this is price. So if you increase the value of what you give, then you move the free line, and you can take the price you charge from down here up to right here. And if you move that free line all the way out here, then all of a sudden you can charge here. And so I think this Launchmaster, here's a question for you. If I took all the recordings of this Launchmaster class, including the next lesson that's coming up, and I transcribed it, and I split out the case studies, and I split out the Q&A, so you got the teaching, we got 4 hours, here's the teaching, here's the case studies, here's the Q&A, I gave you transcripts, and maybe I did a Q&A call with it. What do you think would be a fair price? Go ahead and type that in. What would be a fair price? After I take this, these videos are going to be available for another week, but after we pull it down, and then we build it out, we make a nice portal, we split it out, we add value with the transcripts, maybe we split out the audio so you can listen to audio or you can watch the video. What's a fair price for the Launchmaster class? Just type that. I'm really curious. I'm super, super curious. And I'll have to, lots of numbers here. I'll have to review it afterwards. But yeah, I'm really curious because I think I just took this free line and I exploded it, in my opinion. And so that means that what it does is it builds your positioning. It builds your positioning. So it not only works for high prices, but I think it's the only thing that works for high prices, is by delivering more value up front. Okay, so Karen asked, I guess you're still with me? Are you still, we're 16, 17 minutes. We've got 17 minutes long. We'll take a few more questions. You guys still with me? Still with me? You loving this? Or you liking it? Or is this like, Jeff, you're like boring and these answers are coming way too slow and you're spending too much time on each one? Let me know. What do you think? What do you think? Okay, so Karen asks, how do you get your significant other out of the comfort zone, their comfort zone? It's hard to get the support when he says, I'll just fail and don't bother. Karen, this is hard. It is absolutely hard. I get it. I've talked to a lot of people in this place. I've amazingly enough, well, not amazing, my wife has been supportive right from the very start. So that's been, I've been lucky, super lucky to have a very supportive spouse. I think times are so desperate. She's like, anything he does is better than nothing. But things got better and better. And I do know there's one time where I sort of went into a slightly different business, as an online business model. I've never actually talked about it in public, but I was actually doing a bunch of driving a lot of search traffic. And I actually put a bunch of time into this for a while, and so I was spending less time with the family for a couple months. And Mary was like, you know, what's the deal? And finally I brought her this check and showed her the check, and that convinced her. So showing results is really good. But really the answer to this is that you have to get certain about what you're doing. You have to get really certain about what you're doing. And what you're doing is you're creating a new life. And you're creating a business that will give you that life. And you have to be certain about that. And you have to be certain that even if it fails once, that you're just going to move into a different direction. And you're going to pivot. And then you're going to, maybe the first one is not a success, but you're going to pivot to the next one. Remember, failure is an event. It's not an identity. So we've seen people in our community that came in and they're all excited about one launch and one business or one market, and then, you know, it didn't work, so they just went to a different market. They pivoted. But sooner or later, you're going to hit it. You're going to win. And you just have to be certain about that. You have to be certain about what you're going to do, and you're going to be certain that if you get knocked down, you're going to get back up, and you're going to do that until you hit it. I've had offers that failed. Everyone's had offers that failed. It's just part of the thing. My first business, you can look at it, that it failed because I had a partnership breakup. And it certainly wasn't giving me truly the lifestyle I wanted, so I pivoted. So you have to get certain. And then when you go to your spouse, your partner, or your parents, or your kids, your certainty has to trump their uncertainty. You have to go in so certain, not in like an ego way, not an aggressive way, not snapping, but you're just like, hey, this is my life. This is how it's going to change. This is what's going to happen. And your certainty has to trump their uncertainty. It has to beat their uncertainty. It has to surpass their uncertainty. That's the key. A lot of people have this. They have people in their lives and they're not supporting them. That's why it's really important to surround yourself with the community. I mean, that's why in the product launch formula coaching program, community is such a huge aspect. Because we, as entrepreneurs, we're like this. Up days and down days. Every one of us, including me. We have up days and down days. If you're a creative, you know what I'm talking about. We all have good days and bad days. And the way that we get past those bad days, and the way that we continue to create and they continue that certainty is by the people we surround us with. And that's why we work so hard to build community for you, to create that community, so you have that community that's supporting you. Okay, so we're going to take one more question. Remember, we're at 5:21 my time, local time. We've gone 3 hours and 21 minutes. Okay, one more question. Remember, we still have a super secret segment that I think is going to be pretty quick this time. Okay, so Jimmy Norris says, talk to us about competition. Do we avoid what the big dogs are doing, or do we just do our own thing and not worry about it? So competition's an interesting thing. So first of all, I have really had two primary markets. I've had really three markets I've been in. One of them for not that long a period of time, but all three of them incredibly hyper-competitive markets. Hyper-competitive. Like, I started out publishing newsletters about the stock market. Do you know how many newsletters there are about the stock market? There's a bazillion of them. They're endless. They're everywhere. And then I moved into teaching about online marketing. And I don't know about you, but like my news feed's got a new person popping up every single day that's talking about building your business. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And trust me, I know this market. I've been in this market for 12, 13, 14 years. I know who the players are, And there's just people popping up left and right that I've never heard of, and no one I've ever heard of, or no one I know knows them. They're everywhere. So I've been in super competitive markets. And you know what? When I got in each market, I had no credentials. I was just starting out, right? But the thing about competitive markets is, in competition, is when there's competition, that means there's a market there. That's the great thing about competition, is that means, you know, if there, whatever it is, if you're a yoga teacher, and there's a lot of yoga teachers, that means that there are people taking yoga classes, right? If you're teaching about paleo, and there's 100 people or 1,000 people teaching about paleo, that's good news, because it means there's a market for paleo. So that's the first thing. And the second thing about this is that what well, you know what I think sets you apart, right? Can you guess? What will set you apart in your market? What will set you apart? What do you think? Comments, type, tell me, what do you think will set you apart? Your launch, your sideways sales letter, but also your authenticity and who you are and what, we're all individuals. And you know what? There's a lot of people that I am not their cup of tea. They don't want to listen to me. I talk too fast. I talk too slow. I've got a funny accent. I'm too old. Maybe some of them I'm too young. I don't know. But there's plenty of people that don't want to listen to me, don't want to watch me. Trust me. I'm not aggressive enough. Whatever. You know, there's all kinds of people that don't want to watch me. But there's also a lot of people that do. And those are the people I'm interested in reaching. This goes back to that question about the haters. It's like, you want to serve the people that you want to serve. You want to attract the people you want, and you want to serve those people. And the rest of the world, okay, whatever. You know, there's people on talk shows that are just, like, they attract certain people. Howard Stern, radio host. Most people they can't stand him. But the people that love Howard Stern love him. And that's the way it is with you. Whatever you bring to the market, you want to also bring some humanity. That's what wins. You want to bring some humanity and some authenticity. You want to share yourself. You want to share some of your story. And that's what sets you apart. So I don't even think about competition. Not in the least. I never think about it. Even though there's hundreds or possibly thousands of people in the market that are teaching about marketing. They don't have my methodologies, they don't have my strategy, they don't have my tactics, they don't have my positioning. Remember, how do you get positioning? Through a launch, right? So competition just doesn't matter. And then the other thing is, I like to think of, like people that you might look at as being competitors, they're really just future partners. If you look at, if you think about this, in fact, do this for me. In the comment section, just type in how you found out about me. How you found out about this Launch Masterclass. I'm really curious. How did you find out about this Launch Masterclass? Because I bet, for many of you, it's you found out about me that from someone that you could conceivably call a competitor of mine. But they're not a competitor, they're a partner. That's the way this market works. Like in the old days, or maybe it's still in the new, it still works this way. Like if you have a gym and another gym opens next to you, well, you're pretty much in competition because someone's probably not going to join both gyms. If you have a gas station and someone owns a gas station across the street from you, you're in competition because someone's going to, when they go to fill up their gas, they're going to go to one or the other each time. In this business, in the online business, most markets, there's more there's more opportunity to work with each other than compete with each other. And so I never worry about competition. A lot of people in a market means it's a good market. And it means there's a lot of potential partners. Okay, so let me just check and see where we're at. Get a drink of water here. Remember, we still have a super secret segment coming up. No squirrels. Actually, we did have a chipmunk last through a couple times, but so quick we couldn't catch him. Let's see. So, before we wrap, the next lesson, lesson number 4, is going to be pretty awesome. It's about the open cart segment. I've mentioned that a few times. The open cart segment, that's that period after you sign with sales letter, when you actually open cart and start selling. So there's a whole sequence in there. That sequence is typically anywhere from maybe 4 days up to 7 days. And I'll be teaching you what goes in that segment. So that's lesson 4. It's going to be super, super cool. Got a lot of people, a lot of comments coming in. Irene says it's not boring. My brain is saying uncle. Lisa's still here. Pat's still here. Tammy says, I'm still with you because I love what you're offering. But I'm fading. I'm getting a little tired. Me too. My voice is going. Rick says, this is awesome. Go, man, go. Heather's enjoying it. Derek says, this has been awesome and sharing the value. Jeff, still with you and loving this. Cool. So this is all I ask from you, is I'm here just pouring my heart out. That's what I'm here for. I want to see you launch. If you've got an existing business, I want to see you take it to the next level. I want to see you use this formula that I've been teaching, because it's going to lead to serious growth if you've already got a business. Now, if you're a one-on-one practitioner and you've got a message or some work to get out there, it's time to start working with more than one-on-one. It's time to do that seed launch and start working with a small group. And then you go from that small group to working with a big group, and then to create an online course. And then who knows, maybe it's big seminars, whatever you want. But first it's breaking that trading time for dollars, trading hours for dollars. You gotta break that one-on-one cycle. You might love your one-on-one work, you might want to continue your one-on-one work, fantastic, more power to you, but you also have to add a component that's leverage, where you're working with a group of people. The seed launch is for you, absolutely for you. If you're an artist, if you're an author, if you're a creative, then it's time to get your work out there. You heard Mary on this page. Mary talked about selling out her paintings, just having people compete to buy her paintings. How cool would that be? The launch is how you do that. Marketing is how you serve your clients. Mary talked about, I don't ask them to buy, I just give them an invitation to have a better life. It'd be great if your art, if your books could just fly off the shelves by themselves, but they won't. This is how you do it. This is how you do it. And if you're just like I was, and you're just starting out, I was a stay-at-home dad, taking care of 2 babies when I started out, didn't have a clue. It's time to step up. This is how you start. You start with a simple seed launch. So lesson 4 is going to be awesome. It's coming up in a few days. It's coming up on Monday. And I'm going to teach you the open cart. I'm not going to go 3.5 hours. I guarantee you on Monday I'm going to tight. It's tighter. We're not going to go 3.5 hours. Thanks for sticking with me, and I look forward to seeing you in lesson 4.